Well, good Tuesday evening. Meteorologist Evan Stewart here. Thank you for joining us on 13 News Now on the app because we are tracking a severe thunderstorm. We were tracking it during our 6:30 broadcast. If you are watching that, up between Richmond and Petersburg, and it is sliding here towards the southeast right now, and we do have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for some parts here of Hampton roads, mainly off towards the north and west. We'll give you a closer look at that severe thunderstorm warning. You'll notice there have been a lot of lightning strikes, over 2,000. You can see there in the top right-hand corner of the screen for some of the lightning strikes there, and a lot of lightning around Brandon and over towards Barnett's and Barham. And this severe thunderstorm warning runs until 8 o'clock tonight. It includes Charles City County, James City County, Prince George, Surry, and York County. And it runs again until 8 o'clock tonight. And notice that it also has that tornado possible tag and signature on it, because there have been some signs of rotation within the northwestern portion of this storm. So we'll switch over here towards the velocity mode. And this is where, again, we're looking at areas where there may be colors of red and green next to each other. And that gives us the potential there for maybe some rotation. And we look at a couple of different products here, and you can see that in both of those products we have some possible rotation here over Prince George County, just getting ready to move into northwestern Surry County. And some of those wind speeds there, at least being detected by radar here, some 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. And again, that is aloft a little bit within this thunderstorm, but that core of the storm, I'll get rid of the lightning there, is really around the Brandon area into Prince George County and extends up around Burrowsville right along 12. And you always get concerned when you sort of see that little bit of a hook here. Doesn't necessarily mean that there is a tornado forming, but there could be rotation within inside of that storm. So notice where that is here around Burrowsville, right just south of Highway 10. And then you can see that, sort of in that same general area. This is maybe showing a little bit more of some rotation here, a little bit farther to the north. And we'll see if we get an updated radar sweep as it comes around. But in that general area, we are seeing some, a little bit of turbulence and just a little bit of an unusual signature there on the radar. Doesn't necessarily mean that it is a tornado, but maybe there is some rotation within this thunderstorm and the possibility of maybe a little bit of hail as well. And that rain extends eastward, so that's the strongest part of the storm. But the rain extends here over towards Williamsburg, Oak Tree, and Homewood right along the James River. So that is where we're seeing some of the heaviest of the rain. And this is all part of a system that has been developing throughout the afternoon and the evening. We've seen some big thunderstorms here up around D.C. and Baltimore. Now it's working its way over towards the Delmarva and into New Jersey. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and even a tornado warning. Had a few around Cambridge a little bit earlier into Maryland. And so, if you're familiar, as you head up the eastern shore, the Cape May Lewis Ferry runs right through there as well around Dover, Delaware. So there have been some big thunderstorms off towards our north. We've got that one thunderstorm warning in our area, and then back around Raleigh, we have a tornado warning here in areas just west of Durham. So the storms it's a broken line, meaning that it's not an organized line of showers and thunderstorms pushing through, and they've been fairly isolated, but that potential for these strong thunderstorms will continue to go through this evening. And this one storm right now is still our really the only storm in the whole area. Very strong updraft and some mid-level rotation, still possible for some supercell development. Watching those lower levels to see if we see any kind of rotation. But right now, looking at that one thunderstorm, it is mainly some rotation aloft. And it doesn't take much sometimes for that rotation aloft to work its way down towards the ground. And again, we're looking at areas right along the James River, up around Brandon, just getting ready to move out of Prince George County into Surry County. And that's part of the 13 News Now viewing area. Prince George County is part of the Richmond area. And again, we are seeing that heavy rain now working its way into Williamsburg. So even though you are not officially under, or a little bit of James City County is under that warning, the strongest part of the storm is not to you just yet, but we can take a look at what's going on up in Williamsburg. We'll take a look at the Capitol camera there, and again, you'll be able to see, yes, that rain coming down here. This is our camera on top of the Capitol looking up Duke of Gloucester Street, and again, you can see the heavy rain that is coming down in Williamsburg as of right now, and that extends down towards Lee Hall and approaching Fort Eustis. We'll turn back on the lightning here. And you can see there is some lightning around Williamsburg, about 61 strikes showing up in this view. But once we get back to the stronger part of that storm, as we move over here towards Garysville and Newville and Savage, just getting ready to push into Surry County, 642 lightning strikes. So the storm does have, a lot of lightning with it. It's a very strong storm with some rotation that is being seen in the mid-levels, not quite working its way down towards the ground as of yet, but that's something that we watch closely as this storm continues to develop. As far as any kind of shear, we're not seeing much with that. And, some of the signs were maybe a little bit of hail. We're not seeing any kind, there we go. Let's go back there. This is saying hail possibly up to 1.25 inches. That is a little bit aloft, but certainly the potential is there for some hail with this storm. And it sort of has had a little bit of a history of producing hail as it has worked its way here towards the south and east. So let's see, do we have any storm reports of any kind of hail with this? And we're not getting any ground reports of some hail, but certainly the radar is indicating that there could be some hail within this storm, close to 1 inch in diameter. That's $half size. And of course, hail of that size, once you get close to 1 inch in diameter, that can produce damage. That's when you get things like, dents on your car hood and the potential for some broken windows. So that part of the storm here, just getting ready to move into Surry County. So give you some idea, we're talking about Spring Grove, Claremont, over towards Savage, really right along Highway 10, working its way towards the southeast along the James River. Now, we're already getting that rain in Williamsburg and even into areas of Newport News and James City County, and only just a little bit of James City County is officially under this warning. That's areas around Centerville, up towards First Colony and Rustic. As you get out towards the county line and over towards Lightfoot, you're right on the edge and right on the line of this severe thunderstorm warning as well. You can already see a little bit of rain moving into the York River right now, just some light rain as well. So let's zoom back out, give you the whole view of the area, because there are a couple other thunderstorms popping up in Northampton County, North Carolina, and north of this one warning. But as of right now, this is the only game in town. This is the only thunderstorm that is producing severe weather in the area that we've been watching, and this severe thunderstorm warning again runs until 8 o'clock tonight. So for folks who might just be tuning in, we do have this severe thunderstorm warning that runs until 8 o'clock tonight. Includes Charles City County, James City County, Prince George County, Surry, and a little bit of York County as well. It runs until 8 o'clock. And the big concern, again, is this little tornado possible threat with this storm. Again, the National Weather Service and us here at 13 News, Tim and I, we've been watching, some mid-level rotation with inside this storm. And sometimes as these storms get rolling and we get that mid-level circulation, you can see that circulation start to work its way down towards the surface, and that gives us that potential for a little bit of some rotation. So we'll dive back in, look at this storm once again, take a look at some of the velocity signatures, and it's starting to get a little bit muddy within this storm right through here. Could be a little bit of some rotation. That's at one elevation. Let's take a look at a couple other things here. Let's go back. We'll take a look at the rotation a little bit higher up within the storm. So this is our base elevation. So this is at about 1/2 degree. So that's the lowest that you see. And as we go up a little bit higher, it maybe tightens up a little bit there. So as we get a little bit higher into the atmosphere, we might be able to see, again, a little bit more of that rotation. And one of the things we can do here, sort of take this cross section of the storm as well. Not a terribly tall storm. We're getting heights of around 30,000 feet, but there could be, we've got a pretty good signature of an updraft. That's one of the things that we look at. And with that updraft, then that means that, we have the potential for hail development, and that's what we were seeing with that sort of hail signature as well. Again, sort of a broad rotation inside this storm. But we're not seeing anything that is truly working its way down towards the ground, at least as of yet. So again, the broad overview, this is the one storm that is in the area right now, and that we do have the severe thunderstorm warning with it. We do have another thunderstorm, again, that is approaching Gloucester County. It is not severe, but if you're in northern Gloucester County, be aware of that thunderstorm. And if you're right along the York River, there is some heavy rain that is working its way down on the York County side and the James City County side of the York River. And now just starting to see some rain stretching all the way down the peninsula, all the way down towards Hampton and Buckrow Beach, mainly just some light rain. So this storm is moving right now at around 30 miles per hour. So I'm just really going to focus on the strongest part of this storm right in here. I know there is rain that is ahead of it, but we'll focus here just on, sort of the heaviest part of the storm, and that would bring it around Williamsburg around 744, Carver Gardens around 750, Wacomico around 805, and Gloucester Point at around 807. Again, the storm working its way towards the southeast at around 30 miles per hour. Heaviest part of the storm right now along the James River, Brandon, Rustic. So really we're looking between Highway 10 on the southern bank of the James River into Surrey County and Highway 5 on the north bank as you work your way through James City County. So that's where the strongest part of this storm, that's where we're seeing that possible rotation signature. But the rain continues to spread its way down the peninsula, down 64, down towards Lee Hall and Red Hill Village. We'll take a look, a couple other cameras here. Let's head up towards the peninsula right now, towards our LFCU camera. And again, it is just cloudy right now on our LFCU camera, and we can head over to our Chamberlain camera. Just some dark clouds there, and as we take a look at Hampton, you can see some clouds and a brand new severe thunderstorm warning just coming in. You can see that alert that just popped up on the screen, and that is one a little bit farther to the north that is approaching Tappahannock. So we'll get to that storm as well. And so that includes a little bit of Middlesex County. So this one is way off towards the north, up around Tappahannock, working its way down the Rappahannock River. So again, that's another severe thunderstorm that we'll have to watch to see if it holds together here. That severe thunderstorm warning runs until 8:15 p.m. So that severe thunderstorm, by about 8:15, 8:30, could be approaching some of the northern parts of Hampton Roads into Gloucester County. So that's that severe thunderstorm warning as well. Again, a lot of lightning with this storm here popping up just within the past 30 minutes, over 600 lightning strikes. So a very active thunderstorm lightning-wise as well. So, one of the concerns we get when we have the lightning is also the potential for, fires that could start, house fires, or if the lightning hits a tree or a pole, a electrical pole, it could also, cause a fire. So we do worry about that as well. That's not in the official definition of a severe thunderstorm. It is the gusty winds and the heavy downpours and the high rainfall rates. Speaking of which, we'll take a look at those high rainfall rates. Let's take a look here at just within the last hour. An inch, inch and a half, an inch and 3/4. So, that amount of rain in just an hour's time. We'll be watching for the potential for some flood warnings or flood advisories with these thunderstorms as they come through as well, which is something that we've seen pretty much throughout the month of July. We've seen these showers and these thunderstorms, rather, produce some very heavy rain over a short period of time. and then that can produce some flooding, especially more in the urban areas where we have just a lot more concrete, and the storm can come down so fast that it overwhelms the storm drain. So we'll widen back out, and while we have this opportunity, we'll take a look at this other thunderstorm right now, Hampton County into Hertford County, North Carolina, around Manola, and just west of 13, south of Murfreesboro. So if you're in Hertford County, it's not a severe thunderstorm, but it is a thunderstorm that is producing some heavy rain, and it is approaching the Ahoskie area. Had a brand new little thunderstorm right here pop up in Suffolk around Shoulders Hill Road. That's around approaching Driver, as you can see there. And that is sort of drifting towards the south and east into Western Branch, so just west of Chesapeake Square Mall and Jolliffe and approaching Bowers Hill. So we're just starting to see a few more of these thunderstorms popping up, but this is the big thunderstorm right now, and the severe thunderstorm warning that runs for about another 24.5 minutes until 8 o'clock. Again, the signature on it earlier, as we were seeing, as that tornado possible. That's the potential for a little bit of rotation, and we're still seeing that potential rotation inside the thunderstorm. Storm will be here approaching Surrey around 7:40, Scotland at around 7:45. Also looking at areas around Ewells, Taylor's Corner, Governor's Land, Spring Grove, Brandon, Gwaltney Corner, Oak Hill Corner, Runnymede, Savage, and Beachland. You are under that alert for this severe thunderstorm warning as well. Those are some of the communities that could be impacted by this storm. And as we get in there, we'll throw in Eastover, Pleasant Point, First Colony, up towards Skipwith Farms and Hollybrook. And yeah, we do have the rain that's working its way southward. And as you can see here around Menchville and Red Hill Village, we're seeing some heavy rain as well. Now I'm joined by Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages, who's been watching these storms as well. And Tim, what is the first thing that you're seeing with these thunderstorms?
Quite an impressive supercell structure, Evan. I mean, it's the only game in town out there right now. It's got no competition to steal energy from it, so it's pretty much using up everything that's available to it. And we have very primed atmospheric conditions here to maintain this structure as it continues off to the east and southeast, pretty much tracking along the James River here. Again, you can see the polygon, severe thunderstorm warning polygon with the red outline, indicating that it's tagged for a tornado being a possibility here. And as we take off the lightning, which that in and of itself is very impressive, over 650 strikes here over the last 30 minutes. If I take that off, you can kind of see the suspicious notch that we've been looking at here. It's located in far western, northwestern portions of Surrey County near Spring Grove. You can see that almost detachment here of this appendage coming off the main supercell structure here off towards the south and west. And this here is likely where we're seeing a little bit of some at least mid-level rotation or spin. Is it tightening up enough to form a funnel cloud and drop to the ground as a tornado? It's possible. That's why the tag is on it, to give us kind of a little bit of some lead time. And we may see a tornado warning get put on this as it drives a little bit farther to the south and east here near Darings Mill and over to downtown Surrey, as well as it cruises along the southern edge of the James River. But a ton of rain with this as well, stretching over James City County, over to York. You're also under the severe thunderstorm warning. Williamsburg seeing a lot of rain, a lot of lightning as well. We talked about that being a threat in and of itself today. Frequent lightning, 650 strikes here over the last 30 minutes just within this one cell. A lot of electricity available thanks to the amount of humidity that we have present across the area this evening. It is now getting shaved off out towards Garysville and outside of our viewing area, but we're seeing the back edge getting shaved off as it is progressing to the east now, due east at 30 miles per hour, eventually heading towards the Rushmere area, over towards Isle of Wight, and down into Newport News and over into Hampton, where we're already getting thunder and lightning reports down towards Hampton. Remember, lightning can strike far outside of the cell itself. You can still have some blue sky and see a lightning strike in and around your general vicinity. So keep that in mind. With a strong thunderstorm like this, a strong lightning-producing storm like this, we can have effects well outside of the warned area right now. But again, the polygon is for a relatively small area. Good chunk of Surrey County, though, stretching up into western portions of James City County and just barely getting into York County now for the severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado tag. Let's check out some of that rotation here. We switch things up and look at the velocity signature. This is the area where that notch is located, again, right over Spring Grove, Savage area, just north of Carsley. This area here where you're seeing contradicting colors, meaning contradicting wind directions. We've got red that's moving away from the radar site, and green indicating winds that are moving towards the radar site. That isn't all that far away down into Wakefield right now. So we are getting a sampling of the lower levels of this storm. As the beam shoots out, it does gain altitude. So with it being not too far away, we're getting kind of a lower level scan here of this in terms of the velocities that Evan was talking about earlier. But right now, I'm not seeing something that's tightening on up, giving us a feeling that there's an imminent tornado threat here, although it could certainly do so in the next couple of scans right in this particular area here. If we were to see some brighter signatures show on up here in there's a new scan right there showing that moving off towards the east, pretty much right along Virginia Route 10 there, north and now northeast of Savage. This would be the area to watch here, but doesn't, again, looks very rugged and disorganized at this time. Okay, looks like they're going to initiate a tornado warning on this. According to the National Weather Service, just indicated in their chat, we're going to see that come on out here. Mila, if we can go ahead and pop on over to the air side and get out ahead of it, and we'll join our there's the tornado warning right now. All right, let's join that. All right, folks, excuse the interruption, but we break into programming for a tornado warning that was just issued here for Surrey and Isle of Wight for this singular supercell that's been building out of the Richmond area and has been cruising down along the southern portion of the James River here. This is the area of concern here that just prompted the National Weather Service to issue a tornado warning. Again, this is radar indicated Isle of Wight and Surrey up for another 50 minutes, so long-term warning here until 8:30 tonight. On top of that, the hail possibility of up to 1 inch. Very frequent lightning. If I take this off here and show you the amount of lightning here just in this cell, over 570 strikes, so a highly electrified storm. The area we're watching here for the possibility of some circulation is going to be in the area in Surrey. It hasn't quite moved into the Isle of Wight area yet, but is generally in here. Based on this scan, it overall looks pretty rugged, disorganized at this time, but the possibility is there for it to tighten on up and drop a tornado to the ground. There could be a funnel cloud evident there right on towards Surrey, and this is building again towards Rushmere, where you can see the outline of that tornado warning polygon there until 8:30 tonight. Let's put a storm track on it. Let's see, first of all, what speed it is moving at. It's moving off towards the southeast at 20 miles per hour, so a relatively slow-moving cell. But we'll put a cone on it here for this area here, moving out towards Rushmere. And you can see some cities and towns here. Surrey itself, you got about 20-minute lead time for you there at Surrey at 8:01. Poolsville at 8:21. Rushmere, if it does hold together, again, that's on the tail end of the warning time frame. It's set to expire at 8:30. So Rushmere getting towards you at 8:30. Past that, Magnet at 8:36, and then Lawson at around 8:42. Again, moving to the south and east. This area of concern here for possible rotation, becoming a tornado if it reaches the ground, moving to the southeast at 20 miles per hour. So that's what we're currently watching right now. On top of that, outside of the warned area, this is a very large cell, a supercell, if you will, and it's got no competition. It's the only cell in the general area, so there are no competing cells to steal energy from, so likely going to maintain this structure and maintain the strength as it tracks down along the James River here over the next half an hour to 45 minutes or so. Again, this warning is up until 8:30 tonight. So again, encompassing Surrey and over just towards the western northwestern clip of Isle of Wight here. Does not include the city of Smithfield at this time. But again, this area here moving along towards Surrey and eventually towards Rushmere could make its way towards Smithfield. So if you're watching right now, just pay attention to this as it builds on to the east-southeast at 20 miles an hour. Now on the northern side of the James through the peninsula, the 64 corridor, certainly active for you. Lots of heavy rain, thunder and lightning for you as well. And all of this is just drenching the area with 1 to 2 inches per hour rainfall rates in this particular area. Now, I am joined at this time with meteorologist Evan Stewart as well. Evan, you've been tracking the storm as it's been building out of the Richmond area, as it got that first severe thunderstorm warning, and now it has kind of evolved into a full-fledged tornado warning at this hour.
That's right. We were watching that mid-level circulation a little bit earlier, and as we were mentioning, we were saying that sometimes that mid-level rotation starts to work its way down to the surface. And I like what you were saying, Tim, really watching on this storm that little appendage that sort of just sticks out there that looks a little bit awkward. Even if you're not a trained meteorologist, you're like, what is that? Well, that's when you start to get some of the wraparound around this updraft that comes into these supercell thunderstorms. And this is an area where you can start to see that rotation with the strong updrafts and downdrafts that produce that rotation inside the thunderstorm, and also the possibility of some hail. We're not seeing as large of a hail signature as we were a little bit earlier, just looking at some marble-size hail. But going back earlier, we were seeing here on radar some estimates of maybe some golf ball-size hail with this storm. So that's a concern as well within this severe thunderstorm warning that runs until 8 o'clock, 1-inch size hail, and then embedded inside that, we have the tornado warning that runs until 8:30. Again, right along really Highway 10 over towards the James River. So if you're north of Highway 10 in Surrey County, then it does include a little bit of Isle of Wight County, but the focus right now is really Surrey County from Eastover towards Surrey, Alliance, Pleasant Point, Chip Oaks, and over towards Homewood. So if we were to track that one part of the storm that is moving southeast at around 20 miles per hour, if we sort of put it where that tornado is potentially located, that would bring it near Surrey around 8 o'clock, around Chip Oaks around 8:18, and Poolesville at around 8:20. That's the strongest part of the storm. And again, pretty much right along Highway 10 in Surrey County. And that would bring it right towards the county seat of Surrey in Surrey County as well. And as Tim was mentioning earlier, a lot of rain with this storm as well. So we have to watch for the potential for some flooding. And as we get up here a little bit farther to the north, some of these rainfall estimates, you're getting around 1.3, almost 2 inches of rain, 1.65 there. So we've got a lot of different things that are going on with this severe thunderstorm that has the potential of producing a tornado in Surrey County. And we still have the severe thunderstorm warning that is associated with it as well, that runs here for another 14 minutes and includes parts of Williamsburg. But the strongest part of the storm right now in Surrey County, near Highway 10, and really north of Highway 10 over towards the James River. So that brings us, again, towards Eastover, Surrey. Moorings, I'd still put you in this sort of alert area, and even Elberon and Beachland, because if we do see, that broad rotation sort of tighten up in here, it could work its way. Sometimes they take a little bit of a right turn, and that's something that's very typical with tornadoes as well. So that's why the tornado warning is so broad. Some areas of shear around Spring Grove, nothing too terribly, showing up as any kind of strong signs. And again, we're getting close to the Weather Service radar site, so the signal starts to get a little bit dirty as far as any kind of turbulence or any kind of debris signature showing up with this thunderstorm. But we are seeing, again, that little appendage, as Tim was calling it, that sort of sticks out there, not looking as hook-like as it was a little bit earlier. So maybe that rotation is still a little bit, off the surface. But it is something that we are watching closely if that rotation, again, starts to work its way closer to the ground. And as far as any kind of storm reports in the area, nothing showing up as of this time, but it is a very electric storm. A lot of lightning, 480 strikes here just within the past 30 minutes. So there has been a little bit of weakening with lightning as we've gone here. So we've been covering this storm now for about 30 minutes here on streaming, and then we came on television as we got that tornado warning. So Tim, while I've been talking, I know you've been analyzing this storm. What changes are you seeing in the setup of this storm, in the way it's forming, and what we see here coming up in the next 15 minutes?
Well, like you said, Evan, it does look like that appendage is weakening, becoming a little bit more disorganized and disconnected from the main supercell structure here. But if there is rotation, which likely is still in the upper levels, maybe mid-levels, it was likely the low-level structure was trying to get down to the ground here, but it may have lifted back up. Sometimes these sort of hopscotch along. They try to put down a tornado, then they lift again. When they hit a pocket of favorable atmospheric conditions, it may reach all the way down to the ground. But moved over Spring Grove and along Highway 10, about to hit the intersection here with Highway 31 into Surrey. So this would be the area we'd be watching for the possibility of some rotation, which warranted the tornado warning that's up there right now. Again, with this particular portion of the rotation, we're not seeing it really being rain wrapped, right? All of the heaviest of the rain is dislocated off to the northeast of where this particular spin may be. So it would likely be a little bit more visible, thankfully. You got some of the back edge. This is likely just some obstruction from maybe some debris or something getting thrown up aloft just from the gusty winds, not necessarily from a tornado possibly right there. But to the south and east of Spring Grove now, headed towards Surrey. Again, this warning, the tornado warning, is up for most of Surrey County, and then it just barely clips portions of Isle of Wight. So I know if you're in Isle of Wight, you probably got the EAS going off on your phone saying Isle of Wight under a tornado warning. Most of the county is not under one right now. It's just out towards Ponds and getting right towards Rushmere. Does not include the city of Smithfield. But overall, the cell, the worst of it, really, the gusty winds, the heavy rainfall, the frequent lightning, is over the James River and over the peninsula. The area of rotation, though, however, extends to the southwest of that overall structure and is sitting over central Surrey County right now, moving to the southeast at around 20 miles per hour. Very electric storm, as well, as Evan was mentioning. Look at the amount of strikes just within this area, coming up over almost 500 lightning strikes in the last 30 minutes. This was a threat that we had talked about being a real possibility here with some of these storms that do develop. And also take note that this is the only cell pretty much that we've been watching. If we take it back about 30 minutes from now, 30 minutes before now, it moved over I-95 south of Richmond, and then it blossomed because it had no competition. It had all the energy that was available in the atmosphere for it to use on its own. There are a few cells starting to bubble on up now out towards the east of it, and well down to the south, we've got a blossoming cell here over the Ahoskie area, non-severe at the moment, but moving, pretty much diving to the south and east into Bertie County. Another cell in South Hampton. Another one here in South Norfolk, and then just notice the amount of rain just spreading east of here, overspreading Gloucester, Matthews, over to York, down to Newport News, Poquoson, Hampton starting to get in some thunder and lightning and some heavy rainfall as well. But the main event here, obviously, is the tornado warning here that is up for another 40 minutes, 39 minutes, until 8:30. It doesn't mean it's going to carry that entire length of time. If, in fact, Weather Service says, that low-level circulation is lifted, we haven't seen any indication of it dropping back down, it may be canceled ahead of time. But right now, it does remain in effect as we're watching for some area of rotation here that's it's not very evident on the imagery here. It'd be right around where we're seeing, right over Surrey pretty much, where you can kind of see the conflicting colors. That's going to be winds moving in opposing directions. Any shades of red is going to be wind particles that are moving away from the radar site. That you can see the radar beam there out in Wakefield. So it's well dislocated to the southwest of where this storm is. So we are getting a sampling of the lower levels here with it being generally close by. And then the shades of green is going to be wind particles that are heading towards the radar site, red heading away. So we've got that overall spin here, and we look for some of these little couplets developing that could be an indicator of the possibility of at least some spin. Is that spin making its way all the way down to the surface? Unknown at this time. No 911 center reports yet of a confirmed tornado. Not seeing really any evidence here on a debris tracker. Yeah, it's very, what's it called? Very dispersed here. Yeah, very, very muted almost in terms of what we're seeing in terms of any debris signature. I don't see anything that gives me any sort of pause that there's a tornado on the ground here, Evan. Are you seeing anything differently?
No, I'm seeing sort of the same thing that you were seeing there, Tim, with this storm. And, that every once in a while we'll see, these little couplets form in different parts of the storm. Earlier, we were watching around that little tail, that little appendage on the storm. And then here, as some of these latest sweeps have come in, we're watching, maybe a couple little areas here just north of Surrey or maybe just south of Surrey, still along Highway 10. But that's something that's not unusual with these sort of developing and evolving supercells as they work their way towards the south and east. The storm is always doing some of that rotation. It's getting different updrafts and downdrafts inside of it. And sometimes you can see those spins and those little couplets move around inside what is a very broad thunderstorm. When you think about the big supercells that you see in the middle part of the country that produce these big EF4s and EF5s. And it looks like we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that just came in. So it's really just an extension of the other severe thunderstorm warning that was set to expire here in about 6 minutes. So that severe thunderstorm warning includes Newport News, Williamsburg, Isle of Wight, James City, Surrey, and York counties. That runs until 8:45. Again, they're keeping that tornado possible signature on it because this thunderstorm that has the tornado warning with it has that potential. And, you start looking here north of Surrey again, Tim, and, it's starting to look a little more suspect.
Yeah.
Inside this whole area here, just north of Surrey, where we were seeing, we had said that rotation had kind of moved from the appendage just north of Surrey, and that sort of now starts to line up a little bit more, where on this velocity signature, we're seeing maybe a little bit of a couplet trying to form there.
Yeah, and you're looking at some of the streets here. We're out by Pleasant Point, Cobham Wharf Road out in Surrey, Alliance Road, Alliance itself, Hollybush Road, Swans Point Road. All of these areas could be potentially under the gun for some rotation aloft, possibly stretching all the way down to the surface. Just to the north now, northeast along Highway 31, coming out of Surrey, moving towards Pleasant Point, Swans Point Road there, and then you get to the James River. So this is certainly something that's suspicious. Switch things up here. We're getting some brighter signatures of some wind speeds potentially in this area. Let's see some of these. So you're getting like 40, 45, close to 50-mile-per-hour wind speeds based on radar here. So we could be looking at a couplet trying to tighten things up here and put down a potential tornado. This is the area we're looking at here. Again, just to the north and northeast of Surrey for the rotation. Ongoing tornado warning here now just to the west of Alliance, southwest of Pleasant Point. There's the James River here, and it's generally moving east to even southeast at times at 20 miles per hour. So not a terribly fast-moving storm. If it does hold together, we'd be looking forward to get towards Highgate, Chip Oaks, and Alliance itself, too, here over the shorter term. But this is possibly something here worth watching intently. The updated tornado warning from the Weather Service still says it is a radar-indicated tornado. There's been no ground confirmation, no reports, no radar imagery that would suggest it's on the ground, i.e. the possibility of debris getting thrown aloft. We'd be looking at a signature on this this particular product here that's called the correlation coefficient. Typically, it picks out things that are anomalous and shouldn't really be there. This could maybe be something right there.
That's real close to the Jamestown, Scotland ferry right there. That's what 31 runs up to. That's where you pick up the Jamestown, Scotland ferry to go across the James River over towards Jamestown and stuff. So that's very close to kind of give people that point of reference. But yeah, we see that little, that little blip right in there, and that, what the correlation coefficient does is it's looking at something that's not raindrop shaped. Whether it would be, some limbs from a tree, or something like that, something that just isn't round or flat, depending on how heavy the raindrop is coming down. It's not the teardrop shape that we all drew as kids, but raindrops are either round or they start to sort of become hooked. And so when we look at, how it's shaped, we can see that, this is not shaped like a raindrop, and that's what that correlation coefficient does. But yeah, a little.
Check out the storm relative velocity.
Yeah, very suspect inside there now.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, getting here around Alliance and Alliance Road, that area that we were watching closely, approaching Chip Oaks, Tim.
Yeah, right over Alliance. Again, as you said, the Jamestown, Scotland Ferry over here just to the north near Pleasant Point. And this is moving due east pretty much towards Chip Oaks, Alliance Road there right now. This is looking much more interesting here than on the possibility of this not just being a radar-indicated tornado. It could possibly be tightening up enough to be putting down a funnel cloud toward the ground and becoming a tornado there. So over towards Coben Wharf Road, it looks like right there. Alliance Road itself, right on top of you right now, moving over Alliance and heading towards Chip Oaks. There's the James River right there. So it's moving just along the southern shore of the James River, moving pretty quickly, well, not terribly quickly, off to the east-southeast at around 20 miles per hour. So this is the area certainly of concern there right now. Not seeing any update from the Weather Service, and it still looks like we got that little bit of a hook here, the inflow coming in from the south and southeast over Alliance, and we're getting a generalized rotation here of the supercell structure, now moving due to the east of Surrey, south of Pleasant Point, and just to the west now of Chip Oaks. If you are in Chip Oaks, Alliance, and even down towards Poolsville, get to your safe place right now. You're under an active tornado warning for another 30 minutes, active until 8:30 tonight. Evan?
That's right, and that's really the only storm, or the only big storm, that is the severe thunderstorm in our area. We do have a couple of thunderstorms off towards the north and south. I'll take off the lightning so you can see those a little bit more. You know, down towards Hertford County and Gates County into Bertie County, we have a pretty large thunderstorm, not severe. And here, as we hit 8 o'clock, that one severe thunderstorm warning just disappeared, but we still have this severe thunderstorm warning for Newport News, Williamsburg, James City County, a little bit of Isle of Wight County and York County until 8:45. And heavy rain coming down across Gloucester and Matthews County and around the Chesapeake Bay. So it's a very large, complex thunderstorm. It's not the supercells that we see in the Midwest, but that south end of it, which is not uncommon to see it on that southern edge, still showing some signs of some rotation here around Alliance, approaching Chip Oaks. So this is riding right along that bank there of the James River, still seeing around Alliance that potential here of some rotation. And this is moving towards the south at around 20 miles per hour. So if we sort of track that area, that would bring it around Chip Oaks around 8:09, Poolsville 8:13, and eventually, you know, notice our cone sort of spreads out there. That's because these storms can start to make a little turn to the right or the left sometimes, and this storm seems to sort of be redeveloping on the north side. So there's the potential that it crosses the James River and heads over towards Newport News and over towards Fort Eustis. So that potential is there. You're not officially under this severe thunderstorm or this tornado warning, but you are close to the edge of it right now. You can see here's Fort Eustis right in here, and you're just right at the edge of this tornado warning, which right now seems to be close to the Alliance area and now approaching Chip Oaks. There has been a little bit of shear, not a tremendous amount, maybe a little bit of small hail with inside of this storm. And we're not seeing clear signs of any kind of debris or any kind of, clear turbulence with this tornado-warned thunderstorm as it works its way again here in northern Surrey County, right along the James River. Now we'll take off the radar just for a moment. I'll put this sort of signature on here so you can kind of keep a reference. And as I take off the radar and these warnings, you can see how close it is to the James River, which runs right through here. So if it continues on that path, it'll cross over here towards, Ellerslie Drive and over towards Lawns Neck Drive, and then get out into the James River. And that's where, you start to lose that friction from the land. And so there's the potential that it could still, maybe weaken and then possibly reform as a waterspout over the James River here in about the next 15 minutes. So that's something else that we'll have to watch as this storm moves here towards the south and east. Again, we have that little bit of a hook, a little bit of an appendage coming in off of the thunderstorm, and we are seeing that potential for some rotation within that thunderstorm around Alliance Road, approaching Chip Oaks, right along northern Surrey County, and right along the coastline there, the banks of the James River, Tim.
Yeah, this reminds me of a similar situation that occurred last summer, I think right around this time, where we had a cell that was coming out of York County. It went over the York River, put down a tornado, a waterspout, and then moved along the shores in Gloucester. And I believe that ended up being an EF0 or an EF1 and caused some damage to some houses right along the immediate York River waterfront there. So now we're just south of the peninsula over the James River, seeing that possibility play out once again. But here is the couplet that Evan and I have been tracking. We're getting a little more concerned with here, because if you go back just a little while and you see the evolution of this couplet, it went from hardly anything as it came out of Spring Grove. That's when they initiated the tornado warning. And then it's really kind of tightened on up here and is certainly a little more obvious than it was earlier. What we're looking at is these corresponding colors here. Red is going to be wind particles moving away from the radar site. That's down to the south and southwest here out towards Wakefield. And then green, that's heading towards the radar site. So they are spinning in opposite directions. We've got the tightening up, and you get the overall spin in the atmosphere here. As it tightens on up, it forms into a funnel cloud. Then eventually, if it does stretch all the way down to the ground, of course, it would become a tornado. And that's why they have a tornado warning here. Brand new scan coming on up, has gained some ground. Looks like it's now just to the south of Chip Oaks, but becoming a little bit more spread out and broad, which is good news over Chip Oaks Farm Road, Old Brickyard Road heading towards you. And then again, there's the coast, or there's the right at the waterline of the James River there, if it does make it that far, just north of Poolsville. But likely still some very gusty winds there, heavy rainfall, lots of lightning and thunder, and things getting very rough there right now. Let's look and see if we're getting any signature now on any sort of debris getting lofted. We get a little bit clearer of a signature when we get farther away from the radar site, because you see as we get closer, it is just very kind of tainted. As we get farther out, kind of a better signature, but not seeing anything that kind of presents as a debris ball or debris signature. But here, right over Chip Oaks, this is going to be the area of strongest winds, potentially twisting and spinning with the rotation that's evident there. Near Highgate Road, that looks like. Old Brickyard Road, Christopher Court, and then again, if it makes it out over the James River, we could possibly see here the presentation of a water spout that may make it across the James and head over towards Newport News here, again, within the next 30 minutes. It is moving to the east-southeast at 20 miles an hour. The warning itself is still up for another 25 minutes, but you can see that this couplet is getting towards the far eastern edge of where that warning ends. So we'll see if we do get an extension of this. Certainly if it makes it to the James River, it loses the friction component, and we'll move just a little bit quicker and cross the river quite quickly there. But again, right over Chip Oaks, very gusty winds. Overall, the signature here, if we just back it up slightly, you can see it goes from that there, that's looking much more ominous, to what we have right now, which is a little bit more spread out and broad. So a lot of times these will cycle and almost hopscotch. They'll tighten on up, then disperse a little bit, become broader, and then tighten back up again. And if there was a tornado on the ground, it would lift and drop again. But again, no evidence that there is any sort of tornado on the ground. Any storm reports that came on in, we're not seeing any right now throughout the entire county of Surrey right now. Nothing in Isle of Wight either, and nothing on the southern tip of James City County or anything like that, of trees down or anything like that. So that's an encouraging sign there, Evan. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree, Tim. You know, it is an encouraging sign that we haven't gotten any of those reports coming in, and maybe this storm, this edge of it is starting to show some signs of some weakening as everything is starting to look a little more broad in the presentation on radar right now around Chip Oaks, Poolsville, up towards Old Brickyard Road, and over towards Lawns Neck Drive. So just approaching here the James River. Again, the velocity sort of lags behind the radar signature here. So if I were to put, you know, any kind of possible rotation, if it still is, it's probably somewhere in this area around Poolsville, Burnt Mill Road, what is that, Hog Island Road, Old Brickyard Road. Again, just getting ready to approach the James River north of Rushmere. And that is there just on the edge of this tornado warning that again runs for another 23 minutes until 8:30 for Surrey County and just a little bit there of Isle of Wight County. So that includes Rushmere and over towards Moonlight. But I would say that Moonlight, you know, you are in the clear of this storm, but certainly up here right near the Surrey County, Isle of Wight County line in the extreme northern parts of Isle of Wight County around Rushmere and over towards Bailey's Beach, to be on the lookout. And again, we get in there a little bit more, and you can see just popping up on the screen, Felker. That's Fort Eustis. That's getting, you know, just there right along the James River as well. So heavy rain's about to hit the Fort Eustis area, but as this storm continues to track here towards the south and east, it would likely move out here into the James River just south of Fort Eustis. But then we have to watch, you know, it might follow right along the James River and approach the James River Bridge here if it holds together. The good news is with the northern part of that storm, we're not seeing as much in the red. We're getting some heavy rain in Gloucester, up around Gloucester Point, but it is certainly not, you know, some of the heavy rain that we've seen in other areas, and we're not seeing those strong gusty winds like we're seeing in that possible rotation with the storm as it is over parts of Surrey County. And I do want to see if this loads up in here and see if it'll take us to Yorktown, and I'm not getting that camera up in Yorktown to come through. But again, wanted to watch that other part of the storm here. Strongest part around Chip Oaks, just north of Poolesville in extreme northeastern Surrey County, approaching the James River Bridge. Elsewhere, we do have some thunderstorms across the peninsula up around Poquoson, Seaford, Dandy. Heavy rain through much of the middle peninsula, through Gloucester and Matthews County and over towards the eastern shore. And then a little bit farther to the south, we have that one thunderstorm approaching the Chowan River out of Hertford County into northern Bertie County. Two warnings in our area. The tornado warning now runs through 8:30, mainly for Surrey County, a little bit of Isle of Wight County, and then the severe thunderstorm warning runs until 8:45, a little bit larger, a little bit of a broader area that includes much of the central peninsula, Williamsburg over towards northern Newport News, and up towards Yorktown and Gloucester Point and York County, Tim.
You know, and looking at the 2-hour loop here, Evan, on radar, it's interesting to watch how things went from pretty much dormant to an hour ago, things just starting to kind of boil on up. So what we were waiting for was our trigger, right? Our frontal boundary that's off to the north and west. We had an unstable environment. We just needed something to force it to rise and lift, and then there you go. Now you're seeing a pretty broad squall line, although it's a little bit disorganized at this time. We're seeing several cells developing along it. One that's got a warning on it, as we've been talking about for the last half an hour, the tornado warning in Surrey County. But there's another cell that's looked to be growing in strength down into northeastern North Carolina, which at this time is not under any sort of watch. There is a severe thunderstorm watch for all Virginia cities and counties until 10 o'clock. But then you've got this cell here in southern Hertford over into southern Gates, moving towards Chowan County. Plenty of heavy rain, lightning and thunder, but at this moment, it is non-severe. Still some gusty winds, maybe up to 40 miles an hour, but at this time it remains below severe criteria. To the north, filling on in a little bit more as you get into Southampton, southern Isle of Wight, over into Suffolk, central and southern Suffolk, some downpours developing for you. And even as we get out into Virginia Beach, over Red Mill area, Pungo, Thalia, south of 264, some downpours developing for you. Watch as these kind of bubble up a little bit more over the next hour or so. But again, the main threat here is going to be the ongoing tornado warning for another 19 minutes. And you can see this area that we've been concerned with has actually almost moved completely out of the warning area here. It's now in the far eastern portion of it over land for now before it moves over the open waters of the James River. Chip Oaks right now, very broad area of rotation here just between Poolesville and Chip Oaks near Old Brickyard Road. Let's say Lawns Neck Drive and Burnt Mill Road, also towards Moonlight Road as well. Still some gusty winds here. If they're consolidating into some sort of spin, a tornado by chance, it would be in this general vicinity here. But as of right now, the signature does not really point to that particularly. There it is again, switching things up to showing the normal velocity, absolute wind velocity here, showing a very broad spin from Poolesville to Chip Oaks. Now, check on any hail here. That was a threat as well, and earlier we had a pretty pronounced hail signature, but a very small one here. I mean, this is now over Rushmere, just north of Rushmere, over the far northern sliver of Isle of Wight before you get out over into the James River there. And aside from that, not much in the way of any hail, some gusty damaging winds, and certainly some heavy rainfall. But you can see that where this little notch is, all of the rain is pretty much getting dislocated off to the east and northeast of where this spin potentially is, but certainly a corridor of some very frequent lightning over Rushmere. Lightning strikes just within this area here is at 170 or so over the last 30 minutes. So highly electrified storms here. Surrey itself, downtown, you're out of the woods in terms of this tornado warning, although technically still under it with the polygon still in place until 8:30 tonight. But there it is. They just canceled the tornado warning. So that's some good news right there. 17 minutes ahead of schedule. Still a strong thunderstorm and still a severe thunderstorm with the possibility of a tornado tag still on it. You can see that red outline there as it moves on over the James River and maybe makes it towards Newport News, Menchville, and Hilton Village as well. In this form, it would become a waterspout if it was indeed making contact with the ground, and then we could potentially see it move ashore here over the short term. So that's good news, good development there. Cancellation 15 minutes before scheduled to for our tornado warning in Surrey and Isle of Wight. Still an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning here with the tag tornado possible. It is up for Isle of Wight, James City, Surrey, and York, including Newport News, and the city of Williamsburg for another 30 minutes until 8:45 tonight. You see that threat tag there, tornado possible. We had a tornado warning coming out of that same cell, so it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. Some hail, although haven't seen any real big signatures over the last 30 minutes, up to an inch, and some max wind gusts of 60 miles per hour, so severe thresholds there. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, I think that's the one storm that we'll still continue to watch here as we go through the next half hour or so. And then there are a couple other thunderstorms, as we mentioned. There are a few up towards the north, a pretty vivid storm up around Tappahannock that is working its way down the Rappahannock River. So we'll have to see if that storm holds together as it slides south and eastward. And then through parts of the Middle Peninsula, we do have that heavy rain extending over towards the eastern shore. So from Bird's Nest down towards Eastville and Cape Charles. And we're getting that heavy rain around Poquoson right now. The one severe thunderstorm warning that still has that tornado possible tag. We had that with the previous severe thunderstorm warning, had the severe thunderstorm warning that had that tornado possible tag, and then the tornado warning was issued. I think the broad circulation, is still there inside of this thunderstorm, but we're not really seeing those couplets start to form. So we'll watch it as it crosses over the James River, but certainly even in this latest radar scan coming in, it's not looking nearly as impressive as it was, and even that part of the storm will likely be exiting the severe thunderstorm warning probably a little bit early. Even though we have the warning until 8:45, I would imagine, Williamsburg, you're under that warning. Oh, there we go. They just knocked off part of that warning. I'm not surprised. I was just getting ready to say, Williamsburg, you're in the clear. Surrey, you are in the clear. So we're still watching that potential with this thunderstorm for, a tornado within it. We're still getting the official, word that a tornado possible is within this thunderstorm. But again, it has been shrunk down a little bit, and it might even be, allowed to expire or canceled a little bit early, depending on where the heaviest of that rain is falling, Tim.
Yeah, and I tell you what we're going to do now that the tornado warning has been canceled. We are going to monitor this continuing on our 13 News Now streaming channel. We're going to get ready to send you back over to ABC programming tonight. If this does tornadic again, we will jump back on the air here. But if you want continuing coverage, join us over on the 13 News Now streaming platform. All right, welcome back to our continuing coverage. Myself, Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages, alongside Meteorologist Evan Stewart this afternoon and this evening, as we're tracking a severe thunderstorm warning that just came off of a tornado warning out of the same cell as it moved over Surrey and very far northern portions of Isle of Wight, crossing the James River now. They canceled the tornado warning about 15 minutes ahead of schedule, but they left a severe thunderstorm warning up with the tag threat tornado possible in it, as well as some large hail, max wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour as well. The majority of that circulation is now over the James River. If there was some sort of low-level circulation extending down to the surface, it would become a waterspout here and maybe move ashore. out into Newport News here in the short term, maybe the next 30 minutes. Overall, it's moving off to the east-southeast at around 20 miles per hour. Very electrified storms, too. Just within this cell, we've got 224 lightning strikes over the last 30 minutes in this particular area here. A lot of heavy rain right over 64 from Red Hill Village up to Lee Hall, down to Big Bethel, Menchville. Rainfall rates here in this cell. Let's see what some of these rainfall rates are. We're looking at close to 2 inches per hour, but the good news is some of that's right over the James River. But as you get over I-64, around an inch an hour rainfall rates, certainly enough to cause some ponding on roadways there and lead to some hydroplaning on some of the higher speed traffic areas along I-64 there. But our area that was of concern here was really like this general area here that's now to the north and even northeast of Rushmere. Broad circulation. That's over the James River. We'll see if this holds together. If it becomes a little more broad, it's likely just falling apart. If it tries to tighten up again, it's likely something that may need to be rewarned here by the National Weather Service going forward. But again, the data on this, or the specifics on this warning is until 8:45 for another 25 minutes for a severe thunderstorm warning. Newport News, Isle of Wight, James City, Surrey, and York for some gusty, damaging winds, maybe some hail. Let's check on that hail, actually. Not seeing much at all. There's a very tiny signature right over the James River that may be pea-sized if it does make it to the ground. You can see these little two lobes here just to the east of Bailey's Beach and just to the south here of Felker Army Airfield and Birkdale, Colony Road, Carriage Hill. So maybe a little bit of hail mixing on in with the heavy rain there. But for the most part, just some lightning, thunder, heavy rainfall, and some gusty winds so far in this particular cell. But Evan, as we've seen over the last hour, I mean, it's starting to get a little more active elsewhere. This is the only warning, but storms are starting to flare on up now that we're here at sunset.
Yeah, that's right. And we have another thunderstorm that while you've been watching that one, I've been watching this one off towards the north, up around Tappahannock. And there's a lot of lightning with that storm. And a new warning has been issued. It just clips a little bit of Gloucester County. Middlesex County is certainly under this warning as it approaches Jamaica. But it does clip here just that extreme northern part of Gloucester County here around Baton, Pampa, up along 17 as you work your way towards Saluda. That part of the storm still, again, way up here near Center Cross and Farnham, but it is moving to the southeast at around 25 miles per hour. So tracking that, we continue it all the way down. Now we'll bring it towards Kilmarnock around 8:53, over towards Saluda around 8:59, and Blake's around 9:27. So that takes it into northern areas of Matthews County, and it could affect northern parts of Gloucester County as well. So that's another storm that we'll have to watch. Right now, it is just a quote-unquote regular severe thunderstorm warning, so we're not seeing any kind of rotation, but it does have, you know, some penny-sized hail. That's getting up to 3/4 of an inch in diameter with it, with that storm. So, and it sort of has been producing that tornado, that hail over the last 15, 20 minutes or so, and even longer, as it was up here around Bethlehem Fork and Battery along 17, sort of just working its way along the southern edge there of the Rappahannock River. And we'll continue to track that storm as well. There's some heavy rain that has been exiting the Middle Peninsula, still some heavy rain around Gwynn Island over towards Motor Run, but as we head over towards the eastern shore, around Bird's Nest and Martin Siding in Eastville, there's that heavy rain, not a severe thunderstorm warning, but heavy rain with that cell as well. And a couple more that have popped up. We've been watching this one across North Carolina that has gotten a little more active here as we have gone through the evening. The past, it's been a little over an hour since we started the stream here on the app. And here through Chowan County and Perquimans County, we do have that heavy rain as well that will approach the Albemarle Sound. So if you're around Elizabeth City, Nixonton, Hertford, you're likely hearing the thunder, and that heavy rain is set to move into your area. Not as much through the south side, although this cell here just east of Franklin in the southern Isle of Wight County and western Southampton County, right along 58 and up towards 258, approaching Boaz. We'll have to watch how that storm evolves. I want to take a look here just at the loop of the last hour with that storm.
Bubbled up out of nowhere, pretty much.
So yeah, sort of just bubbled up right there. And that's what we'll probably see here for other parts of the area as we go here through the evening and the next couple of hours, is these showers and thunderstorms will just sort of bubble up as this front approaches from the north and west. You can see it's sort of a scattered line. I'll take off the lightning here. You can see it a little bit better. You know, some big thunderstorms here north of Raleigh, big thunderstorms up here into areas of the Delmarva into Delaware. Here we have a tornado warning that is approaching, Rehoboth Beach. And again, that's a big vacation spot up along the Delmarva and extends down here towards Ocean View and Ocean City, Ocean View up in Delaware. And then as we get down here a little bit farther to the south into our neck of the woods, Tangier Island, moving through the Chesapeake Bay, another big run of thunderstorms that's approaching the eastern shore as well. So there are a couple other thunderstorms in the area. The main one that we're watching, and then I know, Tim, you've been watching here, that we've been covering now for about 45 minutes that initially had that tornado warning with it, is this one moving right down the James River around Menchville and Fort Eustis. There's the updated radar sweep coming in, approaching Mogart's Beach. Just want to check, maybe some broad rotation out here over the James River, and it looks like some stronger winds that are possible within that part of the storm here, getting up around 40, 45 miles per hour. So these storms, even if it doesn't have a tornado, has some gusty winds, and you get right over the open water and you lose that friction, and that wind can get going and it can actually spin up a tornado a little bit faster. Water spout over water that could come ashore. Just to kind of give you an idea, this right here is the James River Bridge. So this is about 8 miles from the James River Bridge. So if it continues off towards the south and east, right along the James River, if it does produce a waterspout, or even if it has those gusty winds, it'll bring it close to the James River Bridge. So Hilton Village, Hydenwood, getting here into Menchville. Again, the potential for that heavy rain, that rotation. You can already see that heavy rain around Oyster Point. So that reminds me, let's take a look at our camera up in Newport News at the LFCU at Oyster Point. And we should be able to see that rain really coming down here. And it is dark, not really. There's some lightning that you can see off in the distance as well. So there is some light on the right-hand side of the image there. So you can see more of that lightning showing up there. So that is our camera there at Oyster Point in Newport News. So it's, literally right in there, getting close to Patrick Henry Mall and over into Oyster Point, that we're seeing, some of the heaviest of that rain. Just kind of give you some, locations there. You're talking about the Yoder Barn, and points northward up towards Rid Hill Village, over towards the airport. So those are the locations that we're seeing, some of the heaviest of the rain, and then of course around City Center Boulevard. So those are the areas that
canceled the warning for.
Oh, they did cancel.
Yeah.
Well, so they canceled that warning. So the only other warning then that we have is right up here, up around Center Cross, and it includes just a little bit there of Gloucester County. And it'll be a while before it works its way into that part of Gloucester County, Tim.
Yeah, and Evan, I don't think we're done yet. That cell that you highlighted coming out of Franklin, this is a 30-minute loop here. Look at how quickly things erupted here. Atmospheric conditions are ideal in this area, and it's got a good distance from any other cells to try to steal energy from. So moving out of Franklin, heading right towards Suffolk, moving almost due east at 30 miles per hour. They already have a special weather statement out on this, meaning it's not a severe thunderstorm, but it's a strong thunderstorm. And there's lightning and thunder here, likely some gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour most likely. But it is heading right for you, downtown Suffolk, moving just to the south, scooting by Windsor as well as you get into Isle of Wight. And if it holds together, it could be heading towards Portsmouth, Western Branch, and eventually over into Norfolk too. And again, this is a 30-minute loop. Look at how quickly it went from nothing just to the west of Franklin to a full-fledged strong storm here, and that's what we'll likely see in some other areas here that have so far been untapped from the storm energy here. Down to the south, over towards Chowan County, Edenton getting lit up right now with some very heavy rain, lightning, and thunder. This is all just to the west of Elizabeth City, but you can see it is encroaching on the city here. Within the next 20 minutes, you'll see the rain breaking on out. You can likely already hear the thunder and see the lightning there in the distance off to the west. Mittensville, some heavy rain, lots of thunder and lightning over Edenton, Coleraine over to Hertford as well, and headed towards Nixonton at this time. This isn't even a strong thunderstorm. It doesn't have a special weather statement on it, but it's definitely got some probably gusty winds and extremely heavy rainfall there for you. To the north, where they just canceled that severe thunderstorm warning that had the tornado warning with it earlier, most of which seeing any sort of broad spin right over the James River. Certainly some strong winds there, over 50 miles per hour, and that's what we usually see when a storm enters over an area of water. The friction goes down, the wind speeds go up, and then when we see that move back over land, we see those strong winds slam into the land mass and then slow down thereafter, but likely causing some damage. So Menchville area, Hilton Village could be still looking at a gusty wind threat, although likely coming in under severe threshold, under 55 to 60 miles per hour, but still enough to take down some tree limbs or cause some power outages there. Hilton Village over to Menchville, Poquoson, Grafton area, strong thunderstorm right over you right now with lightning and thunder. Rainfall rates here are over 2 inches per hour. In fact, that's a little high. Let's see if there's any sort of hail signature. No, don't really see any hail signature there, but very heavy rainfall for sure and some gusty, damaging winds. And then this cell is going to be the next one to watch here, folks. I think as this moves its way right along 58 into Suffolk, downtown Suffolk, and eventually over towards Portsmouth and the western branch of Chesapeake. We may see this one try to strengthen a little bit more there. Not seeing any. It did have a little hail signature north of Franklin earlier. A little bit of shear. It's got a little bit of a twist in it overall, but nothing, imminent that's presenting an imminent threat for a possible tornado threat there. So that's good, but that's going to be one to watch there. And then to the north, just widespread thunder and lightning and heavy, heavy rainfall here now over Northampton County. This is your second round of the afternoon and evening. We had some storms there move overhead earlier, dropping heavy rain. This one looks to be a little bit more robust. And just clipping in northern portions of Gloucester, northwestern Gloucester here, not even seeing the effects of the storm yet. It's out towards Tappahannock, south of Tappahannock now, drifting in that general direction. What's it moving at? Moving southeast at 25 miles an hour. So if it holds together, it'll make it into Tappahannock area, the Gloucester area. Let's see. Make it towards Saluda, 858, Whitestone at 902, Hardyville at 916. So plenty of lead time here as it's moving generally pretty slow to the south and east. But, this cell here is really lighting up. Let's see the lightning strike count. We're up to 67 strikes just within this cell over the last 30 minutes. This one's going to be one to watch, Evan.
Yeah, I think that's one to watch. And again, as you mentioned, the one that we're watching off towards the north, that isn't quite into areas of the Middle Peninsula just yet, but working its way down through Middlesex County. Here's another live look right now. And let's see, we're seeing some, a little bit of some tree damage up in Gloucester County. That report just coming in. So we do have that storm that we're watching. It looks like it's a little bit of a rotten tree, but that severe thunderstorm that, even though, all of these storms haven't had any kind of, strongest of the winds, it doesn't take much sometimes, these trees as they come down. And now you can see how things have really cleared out through Gloucester County now, just a little bit up towards Gwynn Island in Matthews County. And we do have that warning for the storm as approaching Jamaica, working its way down the Rappahannock River, mainly just getting ready to move into Middlesex County and parts of the northern neck. The severe thunderstorm warning that we had again a little bit earlier was canceled early, which we kind of expected, but we're still seeing that heavy rain here, working its way through Menchville towards Beaconsdale, approaching Hilton Village, Aberdeen Gardens, right around Langley Air Force Base, right there in the middle of the screen. That very heavy rain coming down around Drummond's Corner. So that is just getting ready to move into the downtown Hampton area and over towards Fort Monroe, Raleigh Terrace, and the east end of Newport News, and down towards the coal terminals. And there's the James River Bridge right there. Still got to watch this little notch, this little appendage that is out here, out over the James River. See a little bit of shear with that. We still have what could be some broad circulation inside of that. There are some, very gusty winds in there, as Tim was pointing out, over 50 miles per hour moving down the James River. And, that's a little bit of a different view of the velocities there, but certainly some strong winds with that storm. And again, you start to get a little, suspicious of when we start to see these little hooks or these little notches that show up, especially when they're over the river. And any kind of, lack of friction there can cause rotation within these thunderstorms. And we've seen that, and that's sort of that southern and southwestern edge of this thunderstorm that sort of had that, tornado signature a little bit earlier, at least aloft, that rotation, that broad rotation within that thunderstorm. Also, we are still seeing a little bit of some small hail signatures showing up. Doesn't look, like anything much more than about pea-size hail with that thunderstorm. We head back towards the south, one that is now approaching downtown Suffolk from Boaz to Lummis, right around the bypass there, going around Suffolk, Kenyon, and Manning, getting ready to move into the downtown area. You can see North Main Street there over towards Magnolia. So downtown Suffolk, you're about to get that heavy rain moving in. Still, this very large area of heavy rain stretching from Gates County down into Chowan County, Perquimans County, and approaching Pasquotank County and Elizabeth City now, and Lynch's Corner, Morgan's Corner, South Mills. That heavy rain, not much as you get farther south down through the Outer Banks. And still seeing that heavy rain up along the eastern shore and the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel right now. Seeing that very heavy rain out towards Fisherman's Island, up towards Cape Charles. Heaviest of the rain right now along the eastern shore from Jamesville to Bayford, over towards Martin's Siding and Bird's Nest. So the only severe thunderstorm warning that we have in the area is way off towards the north. It includes just a little bit there of Gloucester County. And then we have this other severe thunderstorm warning that is just into Halifax County, North Carolina, getting ready to approach Northampton County, North Carolina. Let's take a look at the last hour on that storm, because that could approach some western parts of Hampton Roads here, southwestern parts. So this is just the last hour. It's sort of been building and working its way here towards the east, it looks like generally. So Northampton County, North Carolina, it could hold together long enough to get back into Hertford County, and you could pick up another round of some heavy rain as well. But the heaviest rain south side into Suffolk and across the peninsula now, working its way towards downtown Hampton. Let's take a look here. We'll throw in one of our cameras here. Get into Hampton, and again, it's just looking dark right now in Hampton. And as we switch our camera over here towards the Chamberlain, again, we do have some of those darker clouds that are there. No rain, it looks like just yet, but it is just getting ready to move into the downtown Hampton area, Tim.
Yeah, Evan, I went back to that storm that we previously were tracking that was moving over the James River, and look at some of these velocity signatures that are coming up on it now. Over 70-mile-per-hour winds clocked by radar. Again, this is aloft, but still sitting right over the central parts of the James River. Here's the James River Bridge off to the south and east of there. This is moving towards Hilton Village, so I wouldn't doubt if we see another warning put on this as it's about to move some of those strongest winds up and over populated areas once again. It is a broad rotation, but certainly likely some downdraft wind speeds here, 40, 50, 60, maybe even up to 70 miles per hour over open water. Again, you lose the friction. Wind speeds are going to be a little bit stronger there. And as this moves over land, it could certainly cause some issues in that particular area here. And you can see it still has that overall hook signature here as it's moving to the north of Hilton Village, pretty much. Heavy rainfall, lightning and thunder stretching off into portions of Isle of Wight to the east of Smithfield at this time, north of downtown Newport News, but over the Hilton Village area. Down to the south, this cell continues to expand and get a little bit stronger. Let's see. Oh, that's further north. Okay, continues the severe thunderstorm watch until, for our area until 10 o'clock. Let's see if the special weather statement is still up for this one. It is for another 20 minutes for this cell here. So a strong thunderstorm now over downtown Suffolk. Gusty winds up to 40 miles per hour here coming out of Franklin. And it's just been strengthening, moving pretty much all along 58, and eventually working into portions of the Chesapeake, Deep Creek area over in the western branch as well. Down in the south, a larger storm system here, but again, non-severe. Heavy rainfall, widespread now, from portions of Gates County down into Chowan, over to Hertford, Winslow, Pasquotank, Perquimans, Burnt Mills, Elizabeth City area, all seeing some heavy rainfall, thunder and lightning, maybe some brief gusty winds embedded in all this as well. But for now, it looks to be non-severe at the moment. And as Evan was mentioning here, just outside of our area, outside of Northampton County in North Carolina, in Halifax here, right through Roanoke Rapids, another severe thunderstorm warning. This one has a tornado possible tag on it. And if we switch things up, you can see there's a little bit of a, let me move the radar sight. There we go. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a, Littleton, again, outside of our viewing area here, it could be a little couplet here, which is what initiated that warning to the south and west of Roanoke Rapids here, moving in that general direction toward Thelma. Bigger picture here, heavy rainfall within that cell. And to the north, the only warned cell is going to be one that's coming out of Tappahannock into Gloucester in the next 15 minutes or so. But look at the eastern shore, just about to get completely enveloped by strong thunderstorms here. None warned, but lots of thunder and lightning, very heavy rainfall as well through the entirety of the eastern shore here over the next 10 to 15 minutes. Everybody will be pouring buckets there. Things have cleared out nicely down towards Williamsburg. I think you're pretty much done for the evening, although let's see what the movement is off to these. Looks like maybe this cell here north in Hanover County, north of Richmond, that may slide into Williamsburg within the next hour, hour and a half. So maybe not completely done with the storm activity there. And then this cell here, if you see it moving in motion, it's pretty much moving due east. So headed towards Chesapeake, Deep Creek area, over to Great Bridge, maybe to Hickory. Probably still clipping western branch here, maybe getting into South Norfolk over the next 30 minutes or so, Evan, as this cell continues to accelerate and maybe even strengthen a little bit more.
That's right, and I'm still watching closely that one that is over the James River right now around Hilton Village. Still getting those radar signatures now in the 40 and 50 mile per hour range. We were up into the 60s and around 70 just a little bit earlier. So maybe a little bit of some weakening with this storm as it approaches the James River Bridge, but still 50, 55, 60 mile per hour winds can do some damage, and certainly some heavy rain around Sedgefield, Hilton Village, approaching the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve Center right there on Warwick Boulevard near the James River Bridge, the foot of the James River Bridge, and then heading over towards Hampton and the Coliseum and Phoebus now, picking up some of that heavier rain, and around Fort Monroe, we're starting to see that rain move in. Fox Hill, Grandview, as you head your way up here through Hampton, right along the Chesapeake Bay into Poquoson, things have certainly quieted down now around Kiln Creek and up towards Grove, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, things have quieted down. Middle Peninsula, things have quieted down, at least for now. We'll still have to watch that one thunderstorm that is around Jamaica in Middlesex County, pushing down towards Saluda. Alfonso Kilmarnock, as that works its way south and east, could still impact areas here through northern Gloucester County, and eastern shore still getting some very heavy rain. I want to take a look at that rainfall total here. This is 3 hours. Let's look at the last hour. And, it's just starting to build up here around 3/4 of an inch through parts of the eastern shore. And there is some heavy rain here, some amounts as you get here through parts of Surrey County of some of that heavy rain, over an inch when you get into those little yellow dots that are showing up. So some heavy rain, not enough to cause any kind of flooding or flood advisories, at least, maybe just a quick little, brief heavy downpour that causes some flooding. But we'll have to watch this as it works its way here down Hampton Road Center Parkway, down the peninsula around Hampton. Not seeing as much in the way of a lot of the bright reds and yellows, still some of that, but it's not as broad as it was here, even just over the last hour. As it worked its way down the peninsula here, this is the loop of the last hour, and you can see it's sort of shrunk here, especially in the last few frames of this loop as it approaches Hampton Roads proper and the waterways here between the south side and the peninsula into Hampton Roads Harbor. And you've got your three crossings here, the James River Bridge, Monitor, Merrimack, and the HRBT, and now the storm is just clearing the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and some of the heaviest of the rain now is pushing into Accomack County, and it looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning up along the eastern shore. So one of those areas that we've been watching here. So that's really just a very, very small part of Accomack County, really here from Highway 13 over towards Wishart, Signpost, and Chincoteague. And
that's for the cell to the north.
Yeah, and that's really for this big cell to the north. You know, as it sort of works its way here, we'll put that loop on, you know, down towards the south and east, and maybe a little bit of that one off towards the west. So technically a little bit of Accomack County up around Chincoteague and Assateague Island for that one storm that is off towards the north, working its way southward now. This part of the storm, at least, that's up around Ocean Pines and Snow Hill, working its way southward, and then another part of the storm around Bullbeggar, working its way out of the Chesapeake Bay eastward across the eastern shore. So that's just another little warning that has come in. Otherwise, a lot of these other storms are not warned, but they do have some heavy rain and some gusty winds, especially the one through Suffolk pushing into Chesapeake, and now the one that is down along the Albemarle Sound, moving out of Chowan County into Perquimans County and approaching Pasquotank County. We'll watch that storm, maybe not as strong as it was earlier, and we'll see what this one over Halifax County, moving into Northampton County around Roanoke Rapids and I-95, what that one does here over the next 15, 30 minutes, Tim.
Yeah, and we're seeing a progression here off to the east, so clearing things out, at least for now, out into Surrey, portions of Southampton, Isle of Wight, seeing things quiet down for you. Down over towards Hartford, you got to sell off towards the I-95 corridor there. We'll see if that makes it into your region. But really just a pronounced line of strong storms here, all non-severe at the time, through most of northeastern North Carolina, well, from Elizabeth City up towards western or eastern portions of Gates, down into Chowan, over to Edenton, and then stretching north is one cell that we continue to watch here in downtown Suffolk. Seeing some gustier winds. I mean, there's a special weather statement on it right now for wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour, and I think that's to the extent of what we're seeing so far. Maybe a little bit of some broad rotation there, nothing really suspicious yet. But wait, it looks like there's a little bit of a notch trying to get going there over Loomis. Yeah, that may be something to watch. See what this looks like. Yeah, maybe some broad rotation here trying to tighten up. That's going to be something to keep an eye on there with that another little appendage developing here near Kenyon over to Loomis and south of Indian Trail, Deer Path Road, as it lifts through downtown Suffolk. And then just look at the amount of lightning here, just concentrated on Hilton Village, sitting right on top of it there. With some heavy rainfall, lightning and thunder, lightning count 74 just over the cell in this window that you're seeing here over the last 30 minutes. Aberdeen Gardens over to Back River, Poquoson, Hampton, Langley View, all seeing some heavy rainfall for you as well. And then up along the eastern shore, just getting smoked by a lot of heavy rainfall, thunder and lightning from Exmoor through the extent of Northampton County up through Accomack, and another severe thunderstorm warning for Chincoteague and far northeastern Accomack County. For a cell that's coming in, diving in out of eastern Maryland here, the Delmarva dropping southeast there, clipping there. But aside from that, you know, things are looking still pretty active. No active warnings at this time. This is going to be the one cell I think we're going to have to keep a close eye on here, right to the west of downtown Suffolk. This little inflow notch here that looks to be developing. There could be something here worth a warning over the next 30 minutes or so as it continues to gather itself. Now, keep in mind, we are past sunset by about 30 minutes. We're losing the daytime heating component of things, but that doesn't immediately downplay the risk of severe weather. Think of it as like you've got a pot on the stove that's boiling. Our atmosphere is the pot of water. It's boiling. We've got the storms firing up. Once you turn the burner off, the pot doesn't immediately stop boiling, right? It's got a little while that it hangs on to some of that energy, and it can still help to facilitate storm intensification. So that's what we'll see here probably for the next 30 minutes or so before generally I'd say the intensity scale of these storms will come down as they continue to press off to the east and southeast overall. There's a new scan coming in there. Still have that little bit of a notch. See if there's any update there. No, not really. Maybe some gusty winds here. Yeah, still under 40 miles an hour, up to 40 miles an hour. So still a generally strong thunderstorm. But this is going to be the one going forward, I think, as this presses into Chesapeake and moves over the northern extent of the Great Dismal Swamp. Just much too organized down to the south here in North Carolina. Just widespread heavy rain with lightning and thunder. We're not seeing any sort of sector of this cluster of cells really kind of take over and be the dominant cell at this time. Anything that's stronger is pretty much over the Albemarle Sound, moving towards Jaycox, and maybe some gusty winds with that as well. But to the north here, just going to keep an eye on this cell that's now approaching Deep Creek over to Great Bridge. 17 West Landing area, again on the just to the east of the Great Dismal Swamp. Widespread heavy rain, lightning, and thunder there for you as well. And this cell, this is just a very persistent cell. Wouldn't you say, Evan? It's just been kind of sitting there right over Hilton Village. Our Hampton, now, is our Hampton camera showing anything? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I've got the LFCU camera behind me, a lot of lightning. And something I think that is happening, at least here locally, with some of these thunderstorms, as we take a look at the broader view, is just we've got some really big thunderstorms off towards the north. These were the ones that were up around Washington, D.C. and Baltimore earlier. So they're stretched here just north of Richmond to Tappahannock. I think you can just sort of see just by all the lightning that is with this storm over towards the Delmarva. And then we head southward down towards Raleigh. There's some big storms around the Triangle over towards Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. So even though it's a much larger area, I think we are seeing some of that energy, being broken up between those two big clusters of storms. So we're not seeing as much in the way of severe weather here locally. We're seeing some strong thunderstorms, certainly, with a lot of lightning. But I think that northern line and that area around Raleigh sort of robs some of the energy with it across much of the metro of Hampton Roads, but still a pretty impressive line from Stevensville towards Jamaica, over towards Christchurch, and Tibitha, working its way down the northern neck, down Middlesex County. And again, this warning runs until 9 o'clock, so only another 11 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if a new warning gets issued, because the storm is nowhere close to that southern edge of that warning. So we'll have to see if that gets expanded or a new warning is issued for that. Again, this storm that Tim was watching still continues to show some signs of intensification, or at least growing. Still have a little bit of that notch on the western edge. Maybe a little bit of, a couple areas of rotation, broad rotation up a little bit higher inside of that thunderstorm. But, that's one that we'll have to continue to watch, that we've been watching, as it just sort of popped up east of Franklin and just started to grow and grow as this storm worked eastward. I'll give you that 1 hour loop again, just to kind of show you how this storm started, as a very small little cell that just kept on growing and growing as it worked its way eastward. There you can see it east of Franklin, just growing and getting larger and larger as it moves through Chesapeake now, approaching Deep Creek, getting into Grassfield, approaching Great Bridge. It'll be moving through Ahoy Acres and around Bowers Hill. And that northern edge will just move here just along into the South Norfolk area and even southern areas of Portsmouth as you get up into areas around Craddock and Academy Park. Southern Portsmouth, Hodges Manor, you'll get some of this heavy rain as well. Deep Creek Boulevard, that area. I mentioned Brentwood as well. So those areas will get just skirted by the northern edge of this thunderstorm. And it extends all the way down towards the state line. So it's approaching the Edinburgh area, Hickory as well. And then another big thunderstorm down through Chowan County as well. We're moving out of Chowan County into Perquimans County and eventually into Pasquotank County. That one has been holding on for a while as well. And they have been slow movers. We haven't seen any flood advisories issued for these storms, but they have been slow movers producing some heavy rain. So we'll continue to watch some of those rainfall rates with these thunderstorms as they come through as well. And as far as any kind of, we have been seeing some signs in the thunderstorms of some hail. Haven't gotten any ground reports of any hail from any of these thunderstorms.
A little bit of a signature to the west of Suffolk.
Yeah.
For some small hail, likely quarter size at most.
But yeah, we haven't gotten any ground reports or anybody reporting hail. And yeah, there's that signature that you were just remarking there on, Tim, about a ½ inch. This is some marble-sized hail possible with that thunderstorm here just moving into Suffolk. And the hail signature, that's calculated by the radar. So it sort of lags by a couple of minutes, but this thunderstorm now over the downtown Suffolk area, moving into the Great Dismal Swamp, Lake Drummond there at the bottom center of the screen, and now over into Bear Quarter, West Landing, along Ballahack Road, naval support activity northwest, getting ready to move into Hickory, Edinburgh, and the northwest area. Tim?
Yeah, this cell I want to focus on again that's in Suffolk and over in the Chesapeake. It's presenting very similarly to the cell that we had earlier in Surrey and Isle of Wight. The difference is the loss of daytime heating. This was 90 minutes ago that we look up to Surrey and Isle of Wight. It was a much more intense thunderstorm, but the overall radar presentation kind of similar. We had the majority of the rainfall and thunderstorm activity itself located to the east of this little notch. And we do have a little notch here developing just to the west of downtown Suffolk here. It's not as evident as it was maybe last scan. Let me take it back a little bit. See there's a little bit of an inflow notch, and now it's kind of gone away a little bit. But you can see it here. There's certainly some gusty winds. Yeah, now approaching 40 to 50 miles per hour. So I'd be interested to see if this does get itself a warning on it soon for the gusty wind aspect of things. But overall, the structure looks very similar, just a little bit on a weaker stage because it's after dark now, and it's still capitalizing on some available energy. But the one earlier in Surrey and Isle of Wight, that was the first cell, so it had an abundance of energy to use and capitalize to grow that to the strength that it did as a supercell and produce a tornado warning. And now it's just kind of a shell of what it was. The remnants of it sitting over Newport News, Hampton, the CCBT, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel well to the east there, HRBT and Monitor Merrimack Bridge Tunnel here coming from Newport News into North Suffolk. And then we drop down here. Oh, here we go. We got a report of a waterspout ongoing in the James River just south of Newport News shore. We talked about that being a problem here. So where do we think that might be? Right around here. So ongoing waterspout. It's interesting they're getting reports of that. It is now dark. Maybe hard to see that, but right over here, right along the Monitor Merrimack, just south of Newport News shore. Yeah, right in this area here. Very interesting. Yeah, right there near Harbor Road, maybe just to the west of the Monitor Merrimack bridge tunnel there. Got a little bit of a little appendage coming off there. Very interesting.
Yeah, and I would probably put it, there north of Craney Island.
Yeah, right out here.
Where we're seeing that notch again. And, that's what we were talking about. As it works its way down the river, it loses that friction of the land, and you can get a waterspout that fires up and, spins down towards the surface a lot easier than you can with a tornado on the ground. And most of the time,
oh, there you go.
There we go, a brand new severe thunderstorm warning because of that report that came in of that waterspout. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45, tornado possible. So Tim, what are your thoughts on going on the air?
Let's do that, Miller. Let's go ahead and pop on air here.
So what we're going to do for the folks watching the stream is we are going to take a little pause so that we can arrange a cut in on channel 13. Since this is a tornado warning with a tornado, or severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible, and we do have that report of a waterspout, that it has the potential of coming ashore as a tornado. So we'll take that pause and get on ABC 13 here in just a moment.
Folks, welcome back. This is Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages alongside meteorologist Evan Stewart. We're back on the air to let you know about a severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued for the same cell that we popped on air about an hour ago, talking about moving over areas of Newport News up to Surrey, Isle of Wight. It has since produced a waterspout that's now located just offshore of the James River, south of the shore of Newport News. So that prompted the National Weather Service to put on out another severe thunderstorm warning that now includes a good chunk of Norfolk and over into Virginia Beach as well. If we can go full screen on that to give you a better view of the radar imagery here. Again, this is up until 9:45. Large area: Chesapeake, Hampton, Newport News, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach. Now, the report of that waterspout prompted this warning. So ground confirmation of a waterspout on the ground here near the Montreux-Merrimack Bridge Tunnel, moving off to the south and east. Let's get a close-up look on where this may possibly be located as determined by radar here. Well, we're getting this little notch right around here. That is likely the location of the ongoing waterspout moving in this direction. So if it moves onshore, obviously it would become a tornado, which is why the severe thunderstorm warning was issued with the tag tornado possible. You see that red outline on that warning there. Again, no real impact currently to land out into Norfolk and northern Virginia Beach, over into Portsmouth as well. It's now over the open waters and building in that general direction towards Norfolk Navy Base there, over towards Brookfield Acre, Ocean View maybe, Azalea Acres if it holds together, and downtown Norfolk as well. For this little area of concern here that's very suspicious of some spin with an ongoing waterspout in this general area coming out of Hampton, coming out of Newport News, pretty much in between the HRBT and the Montreux-Merrimack over the open waters right now, building to the south and east. Evan, you got anything else?
Yeah, so if you were watching our stream, we were talking about how this storm, as it was moving down the James River, it gets over that open water, and we were seeing wind gusts on radar of around 70 miles per hour with that storm. And now if I were to put, that possible rotation there just north of Craney Island, and this storm is working its way towards the southeast at around 35 miles per hour. So we'll put a track on that, again, where that potential rotation is. And that would bring it towards Glenwood Park at around 9:04. So in about another 6 minutes, Ocean View 9:10, Azalea Acres at around 9:14, and Bayside 9:21. Again, the cone gets a little bit bigger the farther out you go, as tornadoes can sometimes make, a left or a right-hand turn, depending on which direction they're moving. But again, it's this sort of notch that we're seeing right in here, north of Craney Island, between the HRBT and the Monitor Merrimack. And you can see all the lightning behind me. That is our Norfolk Tower cam, which I do have pointed towards the north, our Skyview camera there. But right now, this is approaching the naval base. And you can see the Naval Exchange, and of course, all of these little notches there, those are all the piers there at Naval Station Norfolk and Willoughby Spit. Of course, you've got the HRBT there as well. And as we take a look, at any kind of gusty winds, 40, 50 miles per hour showing up in some of those colors there. And again, it's kind of a broad circulation, but we do have those reports that came in just a few minutes ago of the waterspout, confirmed waterspout over the James River that now has moved into areas here right where the James and the Elizabeth and the Chesapeake Bay, where they all come together here, right over the heart of Hampton Roads, the waterway, which is how we got our name. But that's where we're seeing that potential broad rotation inside of this thunderstorm and where that potential waterspout is. And when you have a waterspout that is over water, and they can come ashore, and they can, usually waterspouts are weaker, but they can come ashore and they can still do damage. I still remember the one that started out over the Chesapeake Bay and hit the eastern shore around the Cherrystone campground. And of course, that was a time when not as many folks had cell phones. They'd be able to get those alerts, and there were some people killed there at the Cherrystone campground. So I would say that broad rotation now, getting very close to Naval Station Norfolk and approaching Willoughby Bay here and around Willoughby Spit, Willoughby Beach. Of course, that area was formed by a couple of hurricanes hundreds of years ago, but that is still an area in here where, I would definitely be concerned if you are if you're on Naval Station Norfolk, or if you're on Willoughby Spit, I would definitely be thinking about getting closer to an interior room. Again, this is a waterspout that could potentially come ashore. It's not a tornado warning, but it is a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible signature or tag on it. So that is, I would certainly be thinking about that if you're if you're across Willoughby Spit. And even around Ocean View, start thinking about seeing what's going on with the atmosphere and what you might plan on doing here if this does get upgraded into a severe thunderstorm or into a tornado warning, Tim.
And we're watching that circulation. I've got it turned on to absolute velocities here. And here is the center of that circulation just about to move on shore, okay? Waterspout ongoing, confirmed on the water surface as a waterspout. Here's Naval Station Norfolk. These are the helicopter squadron hangars right here that you see when you're going over the HRBT. And you can see all the ships in dock over here. So it is heading right over the naval base, okay? Spinning rotation here, confirmed waterspout, moves over land, becomes a tornado. So that's what we're watching here, although no tornado warning at this time. It's not going to get initiated unless this moves over land, and there's a confirmation here on radar at least that it would be on the ground there. But certainly an uneasy situation here over at Naval Station Norfolk currently with the ongoing severe thunderstorm warning. You can kind of see it stand out where the circulation is. And overall, the circulation didn't really go.
Tornado
there we
warning,
go.
Tim, yep.
Tornado warning issued right there. Let's see what they're saying about this thing here. So, tornado warning, capable of producing a tornado located near Hampton University, moving east at 20 miles per hour. It's a little bit behind there, but it's coming out over the water. So it's now just pretty much overland right here. That once was a waterspout that is now a possible tornado on the ground there. Again, Naval Station Norfolk right here, Navy Exchange right there, helicopter squadron hangars, ships in dock there, HRBT. We're seeing the circulation overall here, broad, but there was a confirmation of an ongoing waterspout in this general area. Glenwood Park, so again, this entire area, you're getting the EAS alerts on your phone. Go to an interior room right now. This has now been upgraded to a tornado warning. Was a severe thunderstorm warning. Same cell has had a history of producing tornado warnings over the last 90 minutes or so. Now heading over into portions of Norfolk, over the Naval Station Norfolk there, and eventually, if it holds together, moving into north side Virginia Beach. So right now, areas in Great Neck, Little Neck also getting the alerts. You are very far away from the center of circulation right now. Uncertain if it holds together by the time it gets towards you, but certainly right now under the gun would be Naval Station Norfolk right now, and portions of north side Norfolk for the possibility of a tornado or a waterspout that has moved over land. Some of these radar-indicated wind speeds are getting clocked over 50 miles an hour. Again, a lot of these speeds are coming over open waters, and they usually slow down a bit when they encounter the friction of land, so take that for what it is. But right over the HRBT, the helicopter squadron's right there, right at the end of 564, emptying out into the naval base there over Maryland Avenue, Taxiway Drive, where all the ships are currently anchored, and then eventually getting towards Ocean View as well. So yeah, Weather Service saying this is all downstream of where the waterspout was reported in Norfolk, that tornado warning. So typically, let's talk about waterspouts for a second. Waterspouts usually are rather weak. And when they hit land, they sometimes degenerate rapidly. Not always, but usually they do because overall they're weak. They encounter the friction and they fall apart rapidly, get sheared apart. But not always, and that's always the concern here, that it holds together and causes damage or even injury on land if it encounters populated areas. So that's why the warning is up for right now. I don't believe that it said, I think it still said it was a radar indicated. Yeah, radar indicated tornado warning here. So even though there was reports of a waterspout, there's been no ground confirmation on land. So for Norfolk and Virginia Beach until 9:30. 25 more minutes as this cell moves due east at 20 miles per hour. Let's put a track on it for generally where the center of circulation is. And it's pretty much right on top of Virginia Avenue. So let's put a storm track on that due east at 20 miles an hour from that location. Due east, southeast will do. All right, so see all these areas, landmarks, find one that you're closest to, and that gives you a general time frame of where this threat will arrive to first. All right, 922 Bel Air, Ocean View, 918, Norfolk Naval Station, Chambers Field, 912. You got 6-minute lead time there. I'm sure the METOC officers there are shooting out warnings on the base themselves, too. East Ocean View, 925. Terrellton at 924. And Jeb, Little Creek, Fort Story here, just ahead of 930. So pretty good lead time for you if it does hold together. But again, right over Maryland Avenue, Virginia Avenue here, Willoughby Beach. It's pretty much right over you right now. General overall circulation that once was a waterspout, unconfirmed if it's moved over land and become a tornado at this time. Evan?
Right, and that's why, when we broke in a little bit early before the tornado warning was issued, because we got that report of the waterspout that was around Newport News, and we were tracking it as it's the same storm that produced the tornado warning up around Surrey County, and that worked its way out over the James River, and we were watching that circulation, broad circulation, as it crossed over the James River Bridge near the Monitor Merrimack. And we were saying, it was approaching Willoughby Bay, approaching Willoughby Spit. And if you were in Ocean View, start thinking about a plan in case this tornado warning was issued, which it was just issued. And we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's up for the eastern shore. And we've been tracking those thunderstorms as well. That's another big thunderstorm up around Accomack County. But we also have this tornado warning. Again, some of these winds coming in here, approaching 50 miles per hour right through Willoughby Bay. So that's still an open area where you don't have that friction. So that means those winds can be howling coming in here along the HRBT and around Willoughby Beach and Willoughby Spit. And I know that we did have a report of some winds close to 50 miles per hour, 48 mile per hour Raleigh Terrace. And as you get down here into the mouth of the bay and around the rivers, there are a lot more of these airflow stations that are there. So we'll likely get at least a few more reports of some of those wind gusts within that thunderstorm as it continues to work its way here towards the south and east. But that potential rotation again right here, as Tim mentioned, Naval Station Norfolk, Willoughby Spit, over towards Ocean View, moving at around 25 miles per hour. So if you're in Ocean View, First View, Bayview, Kenilworth Road, getting over towards Brookfield Park, East Ocean View over towards 27th Bay, getting over toward Jeb Little Creek, Fort Story. Again, this storm is moving right along the edge of the Chesapeake Bay, sort of following that same southeast pattern that it pretty much followed as it was crossing over the James River and moved right along the James River over here into the mouth, near the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, and where the James and the Elizabeth and in the core of Hampton roads, the waterways, all come together there. And there's the updated sweep. Looks like it might be a little more broad with that rotation, but we do have this tornado warning that continues for Norfolk and Virginia Beach, mainly northern areas of Norfolk and Virginia Beach, until 9:30 p.m., Tim.
Yeah, still radar indicated, Evan. No reports coming in just yet. But remember, this warning was initiated because there was confirmed reports of a waterspout just south of Newport News. Seeing something come in. No, Weather Service is still quiet at this time. But this area here, this little notch, let's see here if I can draw this on for you. Basically, this area right in here that's pulling inflow from the south and southeast near Ocean View, right along 64 as you're getting ready to head over the HRBT, Willoughby Beach area. That little notch is likely where we're seeing the area of rotation right now. So it looks like it's now moving just to the east of Naval Station Norfolk, over 64 potentially, moving through Ocean View, Beachview Street. We can kind of check that with the wind speed velocities. And this lags a little bit behind what we're seeing on the reflectivity that I just showed you there. But generally, this is probably the area that we'd have now broad rotation, because we're not seeing just something shouting out that there's a tornado on the ground. It's very broad. There's certainly some gusty, damaging winds. But overall, a couplet that would be indicative of there being a tornado on the ground here that would really shout that is, I wouldn't say present, okay? I think that there's the possibility of still one aloft. This is still radar indicated, but right here over the Ocean View area is where you're going to be encountering some of the strongest of the winds, and radar indicating that is not all that impressive, 20, 30, 40 mile per hour winds. Again, take that with a grain of salt. This is getting sampled aloft at different levels, so what's verifying at the ground, it could be a little bit different. But again, moving radar sweep here, just moving it now over Brookfield Park, just north of the airport in Norfolk right now. I wonder what they're doing with flights in that particular area right now. And then it does encompass portions of northern Virginia Beach. Again, nowhere near you right now. This is up for another 19 minutes. So if this does hold together, this overall rotation, it may bring some issues for you, but you are under that warning up here until 9:30. Bigger picture, you can see broadly where we've got a little bit of some inflow. Let me draw this on here. kind of coming up in that general direction, right? And then we get the wrap around here, so some broad rotation overall in this general area in Ocean View. I think now it's probably just to the east of Naval Station Norfolk. And, it may even be a little bit farther to the north here, right over the HRBT south side connection there. Aside from that, not seeing much, a little bit of hail maybe. No indications if there was something on the ground. I don't see any debris indicators here. Good news. Let's see, any shear? Oh, we definitely had some shear coming off of the river there. Look at that shear track from earlier where that waterspout originated from south of Newport News over the Monitor Merrimack, but doesn't look to have translated over land at this time. So that's also some good news. This particular area here, a little bit of a couplet on this latest scan. But Evan, are you seeing anything different? Any other reports?
I was just looking at some of the traffic cameras here, and if we can take a Max 1, this is right there along 64, and you can see the heavy rain that is coming down. And of course, you've got all that construction going on there as well. So this is 64 right after you pass the 564 interchange. So, you've got all that construction going on for the new HRBT. So, sometimes the drainage isn't as well. And I was looking at a couple of the other cameras. Let's go a little bit farther to the north. So we're kind of doing this on the fly. And let's get even a little bit farther north. I know there were a lot of flashing lights a little bit earlier as, let's see, that stream's not available as we were coming around. So there were a lot of flashing lights as we get down here. Not looking as bad, but there were a lot of flashing lights a little bit earlier. There you can see here where they have the alerts up and the flashing lights. And it looks like maybe even a little bit of water trying to stand there on the road. So this is getting back there closer into Ocean View, or excuse me, up into Willoughby Spit, where we have that heavy rain coming down. So traffic there certainly is going to be impacted by this heavy rain, as well as this tornado warning continues here for another 15, 16 minutes or so. And, this broad area of rotation could still be somewhere here around the Bel Air area, maybe up towards Ocean View again. Sometimes this product lags just a hair compared to reflectivity, but I would say if you're in the Bel Air area, you're into East Ocean View and close to Little Creek, be aware that, we do have that potential rotation that was there. We did have a water spout. No information, at least not yet, that, that water spout came ashore, at least not from any reports that we've seen come in so far from the National Weather Service. But again, we did have that report earlier, and we tracked that rotation right down the James River here. And now right along, 60, right along Bayview Boulevard and East Ocean View, and getting ready to approach Little Creek and the airport. So I was checking the airport a little bit earlier. There have been some delayed flights. Some of that could be because of what was happening locally and what was happening elsewhere around the area, certainly up in D.C. and Raleigh, dealing with some big thunderstorms as well in Baltimore. So some of those flights, again, could be impacted by that. But we do have this tornado warning for northern Norfolk and Virginia Beach that runs for another 15 minutes, Tim.
Yeah, Evan, I backed things up here on the velocity to show you where our signature originated from. This is 9:03, so 12 minutes ago, when we had the water spout up and over the open water still. Here's Naval Station Norfolk, again, 12 minutes ago. Let's track it and see where this has moved. You can see it kind of fell apart a little bit. This may have been the water spout interacting with land a little bit. And then we move a little bit to the current time, 9:15, and maybe, just maybe, this is where we're looking at maybe some rotation here over Ocean View. Okay, so this is going to be where we got a little bit of a couplet, rather weak. The weak signature, right over Bellinger Boulevard, HRBT exit from the south side, getting onto the bridge tunnel there to Hampton. Ocean View area there, some blustery winds. Let's switch things up, storm relative. And look, we are getting a signal here right on top of Ocean View of some of the stronger winds. This isn't giving us a good, there we go. Yeah, I mean, it's looking like 30 to 40 mile per hour winds here. So again, a very weak signature. And overall, again, water spouts are not very strong. Okay, usually they're very weak. They form because it's simply a lack of friction over water that it can just organize itself a little bit better. Once it encounters land, it hits friction again, kind of falls apart, gets sheared apart. So that may be what we're witnessing here, and just some residual gusty, damaging winds. But regardless, there's an ongoing tornado warning, and you always got to take those seriously. If you're in the warning right now, I just hope you're in a safe space, in an area away from windows, interior room, bottom level of your home. Away from the windows, anything that can become a projectile, make sure you're safe from that. And again, it's dark now, so it's a little bit scarier for the little ones. So when it's dark, you have the lightning and thunder out there, and you got the blaring of a tornado warning going across the bottom of the screen. So just keep that in mind. Here over Bel Air, Ocean View, you're under the gun right now for this potential rotation here, prompting the tornado warning. Azalea Garden Road, again, near Norfolk International Airport, and eventually approaching Bayside and getting into portions of northern Virginia Beach. First up would be Little Neck, and then Great Neck here if things do hold together. But again, this general area, if there is a signature of rotation, it's embedded within some very heavy rainfall, okay? Rainfall rates within this are 1 to 2 inches per hour. So it's coming down quite heavily. Let's look at some of those rainfall rates here out by Ocean View. Looking at over 1 inch per hour, 1.5 inches per hour out towards the airport. So very, very heavy rainfall rates within this cell here that, again, is just scraping along the north side. A good chunk of this cell is the open waters right now of the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. Here's the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel here, 13, approaching that. And we just got a new radar scan here, again, showing the heaviest of the rain displaced there. We got a little bit of a hole. That's going to be interesting to see what this looks like. Okay, yeah, it doesn't look like anything terrible. Any shear? Nope. Any hail? Nope. So just some general overall spin here. This is up for another 12 minutes until 9:30, folks. So I think things are clearing out here over towards the naval base. We're seeing the worst of it move to your east now. That's good news there. Pretty much right on top of 27th Bay Street, Bel Air, North Camellia Acres. There's Route 13 there, headed towards Bayside, picking up the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Pleasure House Road, Bay Point Drive, East Bayview Boulevard. Any of these sound familiar to you? Just get in your safe space until this passes. It's moving to the east, due east pretty much at 20 miles per hour. So it's not a fast mover, but it's also not particularly slow either, middle of the road really. And it'll be pushing east pretty soon, and things will improve pretty significantly there in those areas. But if you're just joining us now, you probably already know what's going on. Got the alerts on your phone if you're in these areas that are under the warning. A tornado warning that was posted for a waterspout that came out of Newport News, just south of Newport News, over the mouth of the James River. Odds are that it held together for a little while before it encountered land somewhere near Naval Station Norfolk, and then looking likely that it's just some mid-level rotation now that's moving up and over land. Not guaranteed. It's still radar indicated. It may touch down as a tornado, which is why the warning is up. But it's now generally in this area from Ocean View over north of the airport, headed towards Bay Island and Bayside here over the next 15 to 20 minutes or so, Evan.
Yeah, and that's the one storm we're really watching. There are a couple other stronger thunderstorms. We do have the severe thunderstorm warning that is still up for portions of the eastern shore. And it's for these storms that have been moving southward, a little bit of a different direction. So we have the severe thunderstorm warning that is up until 9:45 for Accomack and North Hampton with some heavy rain. But some of that storm has been showing some signs of weakening as the northern part of it takes over a little bit more as we cross over the state line into areas of Maryland. But still a lot of lightning around Chincoteague. Got this another line that's really stretched from just north of Richmond and Ashland from Short Pump over towards Jamaica and moving down the Middle Peninsula. So no warnings with that storm. Still have the heavy rain in Chesapeake and a couple of those thunderstorms in northeastern North Carolina that we've been watching, as well as we have gone here throughout our stream. And then, of course, when we had these tornado warnings issued, we pop in here on channel 13 on air. And again, this one thunderstorm with the tornado warning has just been skirting right there along the northern coastline here of Norfolk and Virginia Beach now. And most of the storm is out over the Chesapeake Bay. It's very similar to what we were seeing earlier with the storm when it was over the James River. It was right there along the south shore of the James River through parts of Surrey and Isle of Wight County. And that center of circulation just sort of worked its way down the James River. And then we had that waterspout reported around the southern tip there of Newport News, which prompted first a severe thunderstorm warning and then the tornado warning as that storm moved in. And here's the latest sweep. I would go ahead and say, yeah, there's another part of the thunderstorm approaching Naval Station Norfolk, but I would say for where that rotation was and what we were seeing, probably in the clear, but it is pushing now into northern Virginia Beach around the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. It is a much broader circulation, not seeing as much now as far as those tight little couplets. And one of the things you will notice is that, some of those brighter colors are out over the water, and that's where we've seen, some of those strongest winds. If there is still any rotation, it's probably a little bit more aloft than what we're seeing, because we're not seeing as much now in some of those lower level of the atmosphere. But as far as that shear, again, we were watching those shear tracks a little bit earlier, and you can see what we were following as it worked its way right down the James River, southern tip of Newport News, and that's when we got that report of that waterspout. And now notice that once the waterspout got close to land, if it was a waterspout still and it started to interact with land, it likely, weakened and was no longer a waterspout or a tornado as it made its way close to land, as we lose that sort of shear track with the storm. But still some heavy rain around the foot of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, crossing over towards the eastern shore, and still along Military Highway and up towards Northampton, working your way up towards the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and then Shore Drive now over towards Bay Lake Beach, Chicks Beach, Chesapeake Beach, all those areas, and over towards Fort Story and the Lesner Bridge and Lynn Haven Drive.
Yeah, Evan, the Weather Service issued a update. They have now scaled back the far western part of the tornado warning polygon. So Naval Station Norfolk has now been taken out of that tornado warning. Let's put a storm track on it. It's moving due east at 20 miles per hour. Let's hone in on that possible rotation being somewhere around where you pop on to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. And we'll put a track going due east. So check out some of these locations, landmarks. Pick one that you live close to, and that's a general time frame of where we may see some gusty winds heading in your direction that could be of a broad rotation from potential rotation in the mid-levels. So Allenton area, 939. Broad Bay Colony, right around 933. Northern Virginia Beach over towards Bay Colony area, 942, 944. And Princess Anne Country Club getting out towards the Cavalier, you're looking at around 9:45. So you got a 20-minute lead time here. Again, moving east at 20 miles per hour. The majority of this cell now is out over open water. Okay, still impacting the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel here, though, especially off to the west of it there. But I think things are improving a good amount over northern Virginia Beach and northern Norfolk as well. I mean, this may be...
And they did close down the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. That got closed down as of 9/16.
Okay.
So they have stopped all traffic on the Bay Bridge Tunnel. They did have a level 1 wind restriction earlier, and now they have shut down the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel.
So I wonder, so you see this rotation here that moved over Ocean View and is now pretty much right here over East Ocean View, maybe just offshore. So that's heading right towards the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. So that may be our center of rotation here. Moving north of Azalea Acres, Bayside. So let's put a track on that. Again, it's over open water, but let's go to the east 20. Let's see, Chesapeake Beach, 937. What do you got? You got 12-minute lead time there. Bay Lake Beach at 940. Bay Island, 949. Broad Bay Country Club, 950. Again, if it holds together, this is very broad, okay? This is just what we're honing in on, may be the broad mid-level rotation here that's currently in this tornado-warned cell. But the majority of this, as I switch it up, the majority of the cell, look at how much is displaced to the north. I mean, on the southern tier of this polygon, there's not much going on at all. South of Bel Air, south of Bayside, Little Haven, Virginia Beach Boulevard, not much going on. Pretty much north of there is all the action. South of it, barely anything. But here, overall, likely where our rotation is, okay? Just to the west of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel entrance, which, as Evan mentioned, they've closed down traffic to it as anticipation for this to move over it here. And, of course, the wind's moving over the open water there, causing issues for
And
traffic to go over it.
And it could still spin up another water
Sure,
spout there, as it's right there off the beaches of Ocean View and over towards Chicks Beach and Chesapeake Beach, right near the Bay Bridge Tunnel as it continues to work its way, right, almost paralleling the coastline.
Yeah, it really is. And having that lack of friction there probably will enable it to fire up a new water spout and head right towards the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Again, here is Ocean View. Here's Route 60. There's an updated scan there. Dispersed it a little bit, which is great. Moving again towards 13, Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel there, right along 11th Street. Bayside right there, Downs Lane, Azalea Acres, there's the airport. Norfolk International here, so just north of you there. You know, planes coming in on approach, pretty much going right over that area there. And the strongest of the winds likely just offshore. Possibly a water spout. It's what it started as, and it could certainly end that way as well, with the majority of this energy now sitting over the open water. Not seeing any hail, that's great. Not seeing any shear, that's also great. Well, for the most part.
Yeah, the circulation is that Tim is tracking right now. Did I just lose it? I just got a message, not enough let's see, latency. Okay, wait, I think it's back. Go ahead. Do you have it now? Okay. Do you have me? Check 2, 3, 4, 5. I can speak to this right now. Yeah, just tell them, and I can't hear anything off air. This is the only communication I have with you right now. So if you just say go, I'm just going to tell them what I'm seeing out here. If you just say go, I'll run with it. Yep, it's at the East Beach. Yes, East Beach. It's East Beach at the Bayfront Club in Ocean View. Okay. I'm getting a message. Latency of signal is too high. I'm back. I'm good. Yep. Check 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we good? Okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if I can get a better signal. Hang on. Okay, I should be back. Okay. All right, I want to fill everybody in now. I am at the Bayfront Club in East Beach. This is East Ocean View. The rain is really coming down. We are essentially under that area of rotation that Tim and Evan have been talking about. We have had some issues with the signal getting out here, but the rain has all of a sudden really picked up. We've also seen the winds kind of swirling around. It was obviously, a different situation a few minutes ago. We had almost still conditions, but the winds have picked up. Now, I can tell you the only lighting I have out over the bay where we may have some type of circulation is from occasional lightning flashes, and I don't have any clear signs of any type of a funnel or water spout right now. But I am out here. I'm watching for it. Again, the winds did briefly pick up as the rain picked up. And again, I'm just kind of looking out over the bay to see if we can see any type of funneling or any.
That severe thunderstorm warning. Another one that we were watching, you were mentioning earlier, that was coming out of Hanover County and is working its way here just east of Richmond. Does not include any of Hampton roads just yet, but the edge of that warning bumps up right against James City County. So that severe thunderstorm warning, that includes areas of Charles City, New Kent County, King and Queen, Henrico, King William, and Hanover. Again, that storm, if it holds together, and it might be a little more difficult since it'll be moving into some of the areas that had some rain, that might have stabilized the atmosphere just a little bit. But there's still the potential that we could have another severe thunderstorm warning in the parts of James City County and Williamsburg if that storm holds together. Still some heavy rain through parts of southern Chesapeake, down into Hertford County, Bertie County. And we have this one severe thunderstorm warning that first came out. It preceded the tornado warning until 9:45, although I think most of the areas under that severe thunderstorm warning are in the clear, certainly south of 264 and not into areas of Chesapeake. It's really right along basically Shore Drive out of Norfolk into Virginia Beach, up around Fort Story, where we're seeing in some of the heaviest of the rain. Still maybe some broad rotation, you know, here approaching Ocean View Avenue and approaching the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. Again, this velocity scan shows, you know, something very similar, but it definitely looks like the storm has weakened some and that circulation has become more broad and has not tightened up once again. We'll still have to watch it as it approaches the Lesnar Bridge and up around Fort Story and Shore Drive. I imagine this severe thunderstorm warning will likely be allowed to expire at 9:45 if it's not canceled early, or at least the southern part of it is trimmed off.
You know, Evan, we've got Craig back, the man who never sleeps.
Yes.
He's out there in Ocean View. I think we do have audio now, so let's go back over to a shot, and if you guys can cue him up to let him know he's on.
Okay. All right, guys, want to update you. We are essentially under that area of rotation Tim and Evan have been talking about. As we look up to the sky, there is no funnel right overhead. I will say the winds had picked up here, and I am at the Bayfront Club in East Ocean View. This is part of East Beach. You can see the skies above Bayfront Club right now are cloudy, but we really had the winds pick up for a brief period, and the rain was really coming down. It's actually just past. I'm trying to walk past the edge of Bayfront Club and back towards the dune a little bit. We'll see if we can get any kind of a look. The only real good looks we've had at the sky has been when we've had some lightning out there kind of backlighting. But at this point, I don't see any type of funnel or rotation. You see some of the lightning out there. We were watching for a while. It was very, very still. And then the winds picked up. I will say the winds were blowing at a pretty good clip for a little bit, and the rain was coming down. And now I've gotten a bit of a break. So I'm kind of looking back to the east, almost back over towards the Chicks Beach section. There you go. There's some lightning. You can see that off in the distance as I'm walking back towards the dune. This would be the area of greater concern. Again, the skies overhead. For a while, we were directly under that area of inbound and outbound winds, but I have no funnel to report or any water spout that I'm able to visibly see myself from the East Ocean View section here, East Beach in Norfolk. Again, it may be a little bit past us as we had the worst of the wind and the rain kind of picked up. At this point, I just wanted to give you a live look from what's happening right here along the Chesapeake Bay. And I'll send it back to the studio. Again, the rain kind of letting up for the moment. No confirmed funnel here, but this was directly under the area that Tim and Evan were tracking just moments ago. So I'll send it back to you guys, and we'll keep you updated. If I see anything, I'll let you know.
All right, Craig, we appreciate your update out there at Ocean View, looking at the Chesapeake Bay. Our area of rotation, what's left of it, at least, now looks to be moving right over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. You can see it here by some brighter signals of some stronger winds, likely just aloft. That's just offshore to the north of Bayside now, just to the north and offshore of Shore Drive as well, really just offshore of Little Creek base here, just to the west of 13. And again, moving offshore, the last scan really kind of dissipated it significantly, not seeing it show up really anywhere here. There's certainly some gusty winds out there, but aside from any organized rotation, I think that is dwindling here. Heavy rainfall, though, over northern portions of Great Neck. Here's the first Colonial Great Neck split there, so just north of you there, getting up to Shore Drive, headed over towards Cape Henry. Same sort of thing, very heavy rainfall for you. Headed back to the west along Shore Drive through Bayside, getting into Norfolk. Still heavy rain there as well. Remember, we talked about the heavy rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. And that's certainly what we're seeing out there right now, getting even into the north side of the ocean front right now. Some of the resort areas there getting some of the rain just offshore for you as well. But ongoing here for another 8 minutes is this severe thunderstorm warning with tornado possible tag. We were watching this cell that came out of Suffolk, and then it just kind of got stretched out through most of southern Chesapeake, central and southern Virginia Beach. So it's been a very loud evening for you there. So far, this has been non-severe. Just some heavy rainfall, lightning and thunder, also some gusty winds likely just coming in under severe criteria, 40, 45 mile per hour gusts. It's really off to the north that we saw the stronger of the storms so far this evening. Really, it was the same cell that moved from Surrey all the way down into north side or south side over the last few hours here that produced the most warnings in our area. Now, down to the south, we've got plenty of activity here in northeastern North Carolina. Most of this situated over the Albemarle. You head over towards the north and west, a Hosky area in Hertford, lots of lightning and thunder, a very electrified night out there. We talked about the humidity. A symptom of that high humidity with storm development is frequent lightning. And look at the lightning count. Just in this area here, we're over 750 strikes. It's come down a bit. Earlier, it was over 1,400 strikes. So it's come down a little bit, but still frequent lightning, certainly a problem out there for the remainder of the overnight hours until things just push off to the east.
That's right, Tim, and we continue to watch those storms up along the eastern shore as well, where we have a severe thunderstorm warning and also a flash flood warning for northern Accomack County. That warning, at least the severe thunderstorm warning, that is, that runs until 9:45. The flash flood warning runs until 12:30, so just after midnight, because it takes a while for that water to start to drain off. But that warning will likely be allowed to expire as of the severe thunderstorm as of 9:45, but we still have this other thunderstorm that we'll have to watch. It's still north of the Hampton Roads area. Right now, moving out of Hanover County. So this severe thunderstorm warning is until 10:15. Doesn't include any of the counties in our viewing area, but it is moving here towards Hampton Roads. So that would bring it here towards northern James City County and Gloucester County, northern York County. So that's another thunderstorm that we'll have to watch, and we'll continue tracking that as we go here throughout the evening. As far as North Carolina, there have been some big thunderstorms around Raleigh and Rocky Mount. So we still have this, broken line of showers and thunderstorms pushing through the area, and the actual cold front is still off towards our north and west. I can zoom out a little bit. So we still will have the potential as this front moves through later this into the evening and the early part of the overnight of maybe one or two other thunderstorms that push through. But I think as we are now here past sunset, that we're losing that fuel, we're losing that energy for these thunderstorms. So as that front pushes through a little bit later on tonight, we'll see some pretty rapid clearing, and that will lead to a nice day into the day tomorrow. But we still have these couple of severe thunderstorm warnings that run for about another 5 minutes, and all indications they will let the severe thunderstorm warning expire at 9:45. Both severe thunderstorm warnings will expire at 9:45, so we know that they will not be reissued. So that's good news for what we're tracking, and then it'll really just be that one severe thunderstorm just towards the east of Richmond, Tim.
Yeah, knowing that it's going to expire over the next 5 minutes for those severe thunderstorm warnings. We're going to wrap things up here on the on-air side and head back over to our streaming platform, 13 News Now streaming app. If you want continuing coverage, join us over there, but we'll send you back over to ABC programming. All right, welcome back, folks. If you joined us over on the TV side of things, we were over there for quite a bit with a tornado warning that encompassed Portsmouth over to Virginia Beach and Norfolk. Just expired a little while ago. Still have an ongoing severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag that is going to be allowed to expire here in less than 5 minutes at 9:45. Now, off to the north here, it looks like we have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Well off to the north here, this does include Gloucester and Matthews, and this one also has a tornado possible tag on it because it's got a little bit of a couplet developing right here. You can see it hasn't worked into Gloucester or Matthews yet, but it is in the process of dropping off to the south. So keep that in mind there. That's something we're going to be watching carefully. Another cell here with mainly just some straight line gusty damaging wind threats here pressing in to the I-64 corridor and heading towards far northwestern James City County over the next 30 minutes or so. But that one's going to be one to watch. Aside from that, it's very active everywhere. We've got thunderstorms galore across Hampton roads in northeastern North Carolina. Look at the lightning count here over the last 30 minutes, 2,300 strikes on everything you could see here. Lots and lots of lightning, very bright, very active evening with a couple embedded severe thunderstorms. Pretty much exactly how things were playing out on the modeling later this afternoon as it really kind of finally picked up on the gradual trend that was going to build on through here. Cold front still well off to the north and west. That's going to help to push all of this out of here, but also as it works through in the next few hours, it may help to initiate more storms. So we're not out of the woods yet. This could likely go on until 11, midnight, maybe a little bit longer, especially well off to the south and east. And Evan, you've got some sky view cameras up there. I keep seeing it lighting on up. Frequent lightning across the board, especially through south side. This area here down into southern Virginia Beach, southern Chesapeake. When we were on the stream just a little while ago, we were talking about that coming over downtown Suffolk and how that was going to be one to watch. And then that cell here kind of took over off into Norfolk, and this one moved due east and just kind of spread out from west to east and never really turned severe. Certainly on the strong side, some gusty winds, heavy rain, frequent lightning there. But we'll watch this one kind of expire in the next 2 minutes and back off to the west in Isle of Wight and Surrey, and not much else brewing at the moment. But what's going to be the next area to focus on is going to be this line that's been getting going, driving in from the north, dropping south, pretty much from Richmond all the way to the Chesapeake Bay and even extending across into Accomack County and Northampton, where there's also a severe thunderstorm warning up here for that same portion of that line drifting south. And within it, you get these little kinks in the line that could be some, couplets trying to get going there, which is why they got the severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag on that one, Evan.
Yeah, we've really been watching that lightning. This is our Norfolk Tower Cam looking off towards the south into parts of Chesapeake and Virginia Beach. And you'll be able to just see those vivid flashes that come up there. There's one right there. There's another one. And, it's not quite constant, but it's almost nonstop for these lightning strikes with these thunderstorms that have been going on here throughout the evening. As Tim was mentioning, over 2,000 lightning strikes within the last half hour with these thunderstorms. And the severe thunderstorm watch has been extended until 11 o'clock. It was originally supposed to expire in about another 15 minutes, but it has been extended now until 11 o'clock. And you can see that parts of northeastern North Carolina have been added to this severe thunderstorm watch. Originally, northeastern North Carolina was not under that watch, and now northeastern North Carolina has been added to that watch, and now it extends until 11 o'clock tonight. And because, the potential is still there until the front clears the area, that we will have severe thunderstorms. So our two big severe thunderstorm warnings for the eastern shore and for parts of south side, those have been allowed to expire. But we have that brand new severe thunderstorm warning that is up through Gloucester, Middlesex, and Matthews County. That runs until 10:30. Again, the potential is there, once again, as Tim was mentioning, for maybe a little bit of a couplet, maybe a little bit of a spin up inside this line. We are getting a little far away from the Weather Service radar site, so this radar beam is higher and higher up into the atmosphere. So sometimes it's a little more difficult to catch some of that low-level circulation, but certainly, there is the potential along that line of a quick little spin-up tornado. So you think of the supercells that have the tornadoes, but a lot of times when you have this line of thunderstorms, you can get a little spin-up along that line. And that's why that particular severe thunderstorm warning has a tornado possible tag on it. This one now that is approaching Slaterville and Quinton into New Kent County. That one will continue to work its way towards the south and east, move right just north of 64, and that could hold together long enough to prompt a warning for northern James City County. So those are the two warnings as far as severe thunderstorms, and then we have that flash flood warning until just after midnight for Accomack County and up into parts of Maryland because of some of the heavy rain that's fallen. And as we take a look at some of the rainfall reports, or let's see, some of the rainfall accumulations estimated by radar, some amounts, over 2 inches as you get up towards the eastern shore and even back north and west of Williamsburg. And then as you get into parts of northeastern North Carolina, we've seen some of that heavy rainfall around Ahoskie and Murfreesboro, close to 1 inch, into parts of Chesapeake and Suffolk, over 1 inch, over 2 inches, close to Fentress. So we've seen those heavy downpours come in. And if we see sort of this training of this one thunderstorm where it sort of follows that same path, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a flood advisory issued for a couple of areas as these thunderstorms continue to slowly move, only at around 25 miles per hour, which is a pretty slow forward movement for these storms, Tim.
Yeah, and that one that's up in Gloucester, man, just got an updated sweep there. Yeah, it looks interesting to watch. It looks like that couplet is going to be heading north of Matthews. See it right here. But it has been tagged with a tornado possible, okay? It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, but it's just giving you kind of heads up that there is some spin already in this line, the squall line, that's off to the north, pretty much likely going to be impacting mostly Matthews, to the north of Hudgens. And then as you get into northern Gloucester as well, still included in this polygon here until 10:30. So pretty long-winded warning here, but this would be the area to watch. Moving southeast at 20 miles per hour. It's up for Gloucester, Matthews, and also Middlesex until that time. On top of that, it could have some hail and some strong winds, although we haven't seen much in the way of hail. And we do have a little bit of a signature here south of Saluda in northern Gloucester. Let's see what we got. Near Glens, nickel-sized hail, quarter-sized hail potentially. So I take that back. We're starting to see a little more hail here on some of these later developing storms. And it's a pretty good cell that's heading into North Matthews now, just about to move into the counties of Gloucester and Matthews, Gloucester and over to Matthews, Cricket Hill, Hardyville area too. Another one here that's got kind of a bowling ball of wind energy here that's moving along in north of 64. This is pretty much cruising in that general direction. And if it holds together, which, it likely will, we're looking at the leading edge. You can see that bulb here, that lobe of very strong winds near Slaterville. It'll head into far northwestern James City County here over the next probably 30 minutes or so as it continues cruising southeast at around 25 miles an hour. Eastern Shore has seen all severe warnings at least discontinued. Still flash flood warning off to the north, northern Accomack. The same line here that's moving through Gloucester and Matthews, although this far eastern part, non-severe at the moment, moving through Exmoor and down to Cape Charles. And then even south of there, we've got a little gap in coverage here through the peninsula. For the most part, there's a little cell setting up over Newport News and right over the split with 664 and 64. South of there, we've got our departing stronger storm that's now over northern Virginia Beach, all the resort area up towards the Cavalier, Cape Henry, all seeing heavy rainfall, lightning and thunder, some gusty winds in there as well, pretty much along and north of 264. Then farther south, southern Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, getting another round of some downpours. And then much more widespread activity here as you get even well south of the Albemarle, out into Bertie, Windsor area. Look at this area of very intense lightning here. This area overall, 587 lightning strikes over the last 30 minutes. You get down to inland Dare County, northern tip there, seeing some heavy rainfall for you as well. No warnings currently at this time, which is great. Oh, there's that severe thunderstorm warning here. Let's get a check on this. Yeah, nothing that looks, ominous yet, but certainly a very strong cell. Just the cell alone is producing 366 lightning strikes over the last 30 minutes. So very, very heavy and supercharged in terms of electricity there. But aside from that, Evan, I don't see, let's see, continues the severe thunderstorm watch. You talked about how it's extended till 11 tonight, right?
Yes.
Severe thunderstorm watch?
Yeah, it's been extended until 11.
And includes now all of our area, I believe.
Yes, it includes our North Carolina counties. We'll pop that up. So yeah, it's pretty much the whole viewing area until 11 p.m.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, it looks like they just took out Northampton in North Carolina. Just took that out. Greensville County now out. Up along into the west of I-95. Conditions have gotten a little bit better out there, or the threat is no longer really in place. Let's refresh radar here. There we go. All right, any storm reports? Just have the ones from earlier. I'm surprised there's not more wind reports.
Yeah, I know. You can see that one water spout report that we got in a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and that's it. And then one other wind report of 48-mile-per-hour gust here at a marine station. That's been about it. Interesting.
Yeah, and then there was a 55-mile-per-hour gust reported on Tangier Island. So
Okay.
that's been one of the other strong reports, but those have been the only, wind reports that we've seen, and the one water spout report, again, that we mentioned earlier, that was here around Newport News, that eventually prompted the tornado warning that was for northern Norfolk and Virginia Beach, as that shear track, which I'll put on there, just sort of followed it right down the James River here. This is, right in there is where we saw the water spout report. And then that prompted the severe thunderstorm warning that then became a tornado warning for northern Virginia Beach and northern Norfolk. And the good news is that storm has weakened. It's still some heavy rain, out towards the Virginia Beach ocean front right now. You can take a look out there towards the DQ Grill and Chill at 17th and Atlantic here. And again, it's just, the rain coming down out in Virginia Beach. And as we take a look at a couple other cameras around the area, this is, of course, looking at downtown Norfolk. Things have cleared out nicely in Hampton, along the Jordan Bridge, up in Newport News. Our cameras at the west in there, north and south. Dark, of course, at the Norfolk Botanical Garden, and looking through Norfolk here at Nauticus as well. In Hampton again, the Chamberlain, and we lost the camera there at the Virginia Beach oceanfront. But again, things are starting to quiet down in a lot of areas, but we still have that one line that is off towards the north that is working its way southward that has those two severe thunderstorm warnings with it. And one of them has the tornado potential tag. And I think even just looking at this, you can see the storm off to the left, the storm off towards the west. That one is weaker because we're seeing a lot more lightning and a lot more of the reds with that thunderstorm, and likely looking at, some hail. I know you were looking at some of those hail signatures, and yeah, possibly, quarter inch size hail there, Tim.
Yeah, and there are some signatures on this too for some couplets, some minor couplets here that are showing up on velocities. Two of them, actually, one here in northern Gloucester and another one here just off to the east in northern Matthews. Again, these are very broad. They're not very ominous looking, not tight and anomalous, really. But they are dropping on off towards the south and east at around 20, and we'll see if these try to tighten on up. Typically along a squall line like this, when you've got winds coming in out of the south and west too, you already have some generalized spin, and this can kind of pinch off some of these couplets and develop a tornado warning. So that's why they got the tornado possible tag on this particular one here. Zooming out, I don't see any other areas that are threatening for tornadoes, which is great news. It's really just kind of your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms with a lot of lightning. Very heavy rainfall here. We've got a moisture-rich atmosphere over all of Hampton Roads. Got dew points today into the lower 70s, and that's likely where they still are until we get that front to come on through and shift our winds overnight tonight out of the north and west to kind of replace the humid air with some drier, more comfortable air that we'll be enjoying tomorrow and really through the remainder of the work week. But just still two ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings here. One that's just outside of James City County. This one is for gusty, damaging winds, maybe up to 60 miles per hour. The one to the east of it, a little bit stronger, a little bit more threatening with the possibility of a tornado there. We just showed you how there were some couplets trying to develop along the leading edge of that wind field with that storm as it's cruising off to the south and east at around 20 miles an hour. Along the eastern shore, still an ongoing flash flood warning up into Accomack, and areas south of there, still very heavy rain. Lots of thunder and lightning, and whatever's left of our storms from earlier through much of Southside have all fallen below severe criteria, especially this one here that was over northern Virginia Beach and pretty much over Norfolk and Portsmouth, and came out of Newport News as well. This one here is just dumping rain over northern Virginia Beach right now, pretty much along and to the east of Great Neck at this hour. Rainfall rates there probably up to, let's see, over 2 inches per hour in some of those areas. So just a lot of rain coming on down from these cells. What they're essentially doing is, with the forcing of the front off to the north and west, the storms are wringing the atmosphere out like a wet sponge, and we're getting these heavy rainfall rates. In fact, rainfall over the last, let's see if we can get this to show up here, 3 hours. It's kind of lagging. Let's go 1 hour here, what it looks like. A little bit better. Look at central Chesapeake, like up to 3 inches. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of lagging a little bit. Look at northern Accomack. 2, 3, 4 inches of rain has fallen down into portions of North Carolina, 1 to 2 inches. So certainly a lot of rain getting squeezed out of the atmosphere this evening with these strong thunderstorms for the most part. And a few of them have been turning severe here over the last couple of hours too.
And we did get a report of a tree down on Portview Avenue in West Ocean View in Norfolk. So again, probably just, some of the gusty winds as that thunderstorm came ashore, and that report hasn't even populated on our graphic just yet that you can see here on the screen, but we did have that report coming in from the City of Norfolk Emergency Management of a tree down that's blocking Portview Avenue in West Ocean View, and that's with the same storm that had the tornado warning associated with it. And again, you don't have to have a tornado to knock a tree down. Of course, you can have those strong gusty winds, and we were seeing some of those wind gusts as it was working its way down the James River, getting close to 70 miles per hour. Officially, there at Raleigh Terrace, we had that wind gust, and there comes that storm report right in there now, just populating the tree down near the 200 block of Portview Avenue. So that's just coming in. And, sometimes the winds with these thunderstorms are in a very small, concentrated area. So even though it was only a 48 mile per hour gust around Raleigh Terrace, still was enough right there around Ocean View to knock a tree down and block a roadway. I have not checked the Dominion outage map. Let me do that just to see what we're seeing across the area with any kind of outages. And there are some in the whole area, and this goes all the way up towards Washington, D.C., 4,400 people out, or customers at least. Just some spotty customer outages, 5, 6, 7 here and there. So not any kind of widespread outages. 16 up in Newport News, up around Warwick, 8. So very spotty. 4 customers here, 12 customers there. So nothing too terribly, not a lot of outages throughout the area. So that is certainly some good news with these thunderstorms. And we'll just have to see what happens with these storms off towards the north now, moving into northern Matthews County and Gloucester County now, around Dutton, Harcum Road, Blue Heron Drive, over towards Blake's and approaching Grimstead and Gwynn Island. And that is going to continue to work its way down eastern Gloucester County, just past the courthouse, over towards Ware Neck, Foster, Hudgens, Moon, Beaverlet, Mobjack, over into parts of Matthews County. And again, as Tim was mentioning earlier, sometimes along those lines, you can get a little bit of a circulation that spins up. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's reaching the ground. It could be aloft. But this severe thunderstorm warning does have that tag on it that it could also, have a tornado possible, just because we've seen that, and these storms do have that history of producing, tornadoes or water spouts.
Yeah, and Evan, now that we're hitting 10 o'clock, we're going to continue to watch this cell that's over Matthews and Gloucester for any more development or any changes, as it's moving pretty slowly to the south and east. Everywhere else has seen storms drop below severe criteria, so we're going to watch these off air and wrap up the stream for now and pop back on here if necessary. If not, we'll see you back on the TV side of things coming up on 13 News Now at 11 in 60 minutes.